CDBC Bank is Taiwan's top financial institution, but we're not stopping there. We're crafting an international brand and already have over 260 outlets in 14 countries. We are by your side, ready to embrace the future.
Our family.
Have his Flash Summoner, and it looks like Koala wants to try and take a fight.
Oh, whoa! He really got the stretch on that hook right there. That's the rocket. Koala is going to be able to finish the kill on
Level
the
6.
Ignite. Now into the dive. They do find Red House for round 2. 665 is way too late to this party. And in the stasis goes Gemini on the stopwatch. They will lose Koala. Coming up on this first Hextech Dragon as well. Should have it down before they answer. Minji, though, he's burning at the moment. Does have the Sleepy Trouble landing. And the follow through. Oh, the stiff arm there. Great body block. And Wako takes down Taco as they're looking for Faith as well. I think this is a double kill for this area, and all of a sudden, what was it? And all of a sudden, things start to turn around once again. Leong is caught out by Quiet, though, and should be falling down unless he can dash his way to freedom. Nice prediction from Quiet.
Oh man, Quiet.
Watching this bot lane, LeBlanc's not going to do that much damage to your tower, so I would want to see Faith just... Whoop. Oh,
okay. Wow, into the combo. Leong is trying to style right now, but he's got to be careful. Quiet can still do some serious damage, but he's running towards the wrong tower. Both junglers in hot pursuit, and Leong is going to finish off the kill without the help of Husha. His advantage now. Wako trying to see. That's the gold card instantly cleansed by Wako, and now things turn just a little bit. Do they get enough damage? As you see Husha going in, but the worst is real as Criscata sends them all to the grave with a massive moonlight.
CDBC Bank is Taiwan's top financial institution, but we're not stopping there. We're crafting an international brand and already have over 260 outlets in 14 countries. We are by your side, ready to embrace the future.
Anima Squad deploy. What's up, Doc? I'll bring swift death. Impure fools.
Let's see what you're made of.
Be still! I'm trying to shoot you. All right, now we're hopping. Mission's off to a good start. Hey, Fishbones! Should we blow something up?
You might inconvenience people and hurt their feelings.
Front line with like 32. I'm a Rex, that's a shout out to 32. I'm a danger and I play dirty too. I'm just so 32. Ahead of my time, so I'm hard like broom. Flows the bomb like I shook the room. I stay lit like Christmas and hot like June.
Winning again, I won't stop till I'm winning again. Winning again, I won't stop till I win. It's cold outside and I thought I couldn't do it again. Winning again, I won't stop till I'm winning again. Winning again, I won't stop till I'm winning again. Winning again, I won't stop till I'm winning again. It's cold outside and I thought I couldn't do it again. Winning again, I won't stop till I'm winning again.
I'm a wall of danger. I'm addicted to the wild and nature. If you give me your heart, I'll break it. I've been known to lie. I've been known to lie. I was sitting all alone on the sidewalk when you caught me by surprise. I'm a lone wolf, I die by my own rules. I know when to follow my prey, and now it's right in front of me. Right in front of me. Right in front of me. I'm not of the mayhem. I would chase 100 more highs to trade in it for chaos I'm creating. I've been known to lie. I've been known to lie. I was sitting all alone on the sidewalk when you caught me by surprise. I'm a lone wolf, I die by my own rules. I know when to follow my prey, and now it's right in front of me. It's right in front of me. It's right in front of me. Right in front of me. Right in front of me.
Something about you, I can hide it. I fell for you from the start. Something about you, good things happen. I fell for you from the start. Something about you, something about you, something about you, something about you. Once in a lifetime, I love falling from the stars. With grace, I mistakes. You hold me but fall apart. Is this true love? I surrender. I spill love. Is this true love? I surrender. I spill love. Something about you, I can hide it. I fell for you from the start. Something about you, good things happen. I fell for you from the start. Something about you, something about you, something about
Ja, ey, ich glaub, die Chancen stehen gut, dass wir morgen nicht mehr wissen, was wir heute gemacht haben. Ja, der Boost in meinem Blut killt den Blues ab. Ufer ist zu laut für die Nachbarn. Und ich füll noch was nach. Kühles im Glas und es wärmt mich von innen. Korkenfliegen sind wach, bis am Morgen danach alles von vorne beginnt. Fick auf eure Art und eure bessere Gesellschaft. Ich mach Party ohne Grund, auch wenn ich dafür nicht mal Geld hab. Nein, ich lebe nicht gesund und in den Tag, weil's mir gefällt. Mache Tracks, unterschätzt, diese Mucke ist mein Shelter. Tavern vs. Wild, ja, ich bau mir was aus Pflanzen nach, muss dafür nicht in den Wald. Gib mir noch was ein von dem Gift und die Sicht wird langsam dizzy von dem Wein. Seh nicht doppelt, sondern dreifach, wenn der Mond mal wieder scheint. Ja. Immer unterwegs, weiß nicht, ob ich ankomme. Schau tief in mein Herz, aber find keine Antwort. Ich glaub, die Chancen stehen gut, dass wir morgen nicht mehr wissen, was wir heute gemacht haben. Der Boost in meinem Blut killt den Blues ab. Ufer ist zu laut für die Nachbarn. Und ich füll noch was nach. Kühles im Glas und es wärmt mich von innen. Korkenfliegen sind wach, bis am Morgen danach alles von vorne beginnt. Viele bunte Drinks und ich chill an meinem Block. Tasche voller Ort, deshalb lauf ich vor den Cops. Brüder wollen chillen und ich schaue auf die Glock. Gerade passt es gut, ich habe 20 Gramm gekoppt. Rauche in der Einfahrt, Henny aus dem Weinglas. Wie lang ist es her, dass du das letzte Mal geweint hast? Alles ist im Einklang, ja. Fische nach dem neuesten Shit und das ist nur der Beifang. Immer unterwegs, weiß nicht, ob ich ankomme. Schau tief in mein Herz, aber find keine Antwort. Und ich füll noch was nach. Kühles im Glas und es wärmt mich von innen. Korkenfliegen sind wach, bis am Morgen danach alles von vorne beginnt.
Yeah. I'll avenge her. London reinvented me, elitists do it properly. MJ would've rocked with me, it feels like a crown, it's the only thing on top of me. On this thing's a CD, get high like PG, guys did like Ouija, stay smart like 3P, get fly like ET, live east like E3. I am the only trilogy that beat no repeat. I kill the beat, I slay the beat, I kill the beat, I'm an Avenger. I kill the beat, I slay the beat, I kill the beat, I'm an Avenger. I kill the beat, I slay the beat, I kill the beat, I'm an Avenger. I kill the beat, I slay the beat, I kill the beat. I represent evolution like Charmander. Come through on the mic with a hard banger. Biblical with the bars, I'm the last rapture. I'm Picasso with the pen, this is art grammar. Lightning with the flow, call me for the rapper. I've been through some stuff, you will marvel at my chapter. Loud with the amp, but I call it a big bagger. And I live in my family, the only thing that matters. I killed the beat, I slayed the beat, I killed the beat, I'm an Avenger. I killed the beat, I slayed the beat, I killed the beat, I'm an Avenger. I killed the beat, I slayed the beat, I killed the beat, I'm an Avenger. I killed the beat, I slayed the beat, I killed the beat. I killed the beat, I slayed the beat, I killed the beat, I'm an Avenger. I killed the beat, I slayed the beat, I killed the beat, I'm an Avenger. I killed the beat, I slayed the beat, I killed the beat, I'm an Avenger. I killed the beat, I slayed the beat, I killed the beat. I'm an Avenger. I'm an Avenger. I'm an Avenger. I'm an Avenger.
I just came here and I haven't thought this through. Heart on my sleeve, ready to bleed. Wish I had another drink, then I'd have left it. Instead we're gonna go to the brink. Don't you think that we should forget? Give me all your love, give me all your love. Give me all your love, all your love. Give me that pain, but it's light from above. Give me all your love, all your love. Since I left you, you haven't left my mind. You keep me awake, so for my own sake, I had to come and see your face. Can't erase you anyway. So here we go again. Touch your skin, pull me in. You and me, head swimming. Give me all your love, give me all your love. Give me all your love, all your love. Give me that touch, give me strength from above. Give me all your love, all your love.
And welcome, one and all, to yet another day here at the PCS Spring Split Playoffs. We are closing out round 2 tonight with a bout between Deep Cross Gaming and Frankie Sports. It is all on the line as this is an elimination match in the lower half of the bracket. Hey everybody, I am Pyrotechnics, joined on this cast by the excellent, the wonderful, the incredible Clement Chu. And before we get into today's matches, before we dispense with all the pleasantries, Clement, I do want to take a moment to thank our wonderful sponsors. They are, of course, CTBC Bank and Caliber. Thank you for making the PCS possible, and a very special shout out to our broadcast partners, Carry Live, Riot Games, and Garena, for making all of this possible as well. All right, with all that out of the way, Clement, we've got two teams that have gone in very different directions since the playoffs began.
Yeah, and I feel like at this moment in the bracket, it's usually when the higher seed is actually the most vulnerable because they've actually played more games, they're coming into their third series, and they've shown more cards. So Frankie Esports, despite the general ranking of these teams, I think has a very good chance to actually come out as the underdog today.
It's very, very possible, and we've certainly had some startling, if maybe not entirely unexpected, results so far in the playoffs. Just the League of 3-0s, the League of Sweeps, we finally got to see it snapped yesterday with a 5-game series. Oh my goodness, Megabank Beyond Gaming and J-Team certainly made it impressive, but J-Team at the end of the day did manage to pull out the win, which means the winner of the series tonight will go on to face off against them on Friday, April 15th. Of course, at Deep Cross make it, we have a bit of a rematch of the first game of this entire split, when Deep Cross kind of shocked, I think, the J-Team cinematic universe.
Yeah, Deep Cross definitely want to make it a 3J team affair plus PSG going forward, but so far they have actually taken, I would say, a much harder path than Frank Esports at this point. They had a grueling series versus Beyond Gaming where they had to come back from a Game 1 deficit, and in the match against PSG, as you saw this week, they were absolutely crushed. All the lanes were losing, especially Leaky's lane was not able to hold up to Hanabi, and they dropped out of that series in record time. So I feel like DCG, for them, they need to reset their mentality. Of course, they're going up against a slightly easier opponent in Frank Esports, but they still need to stabilize. On the other end, for Frank Esports, I feel like this is an up-and-up experience in the postseason. It's their first time here. They had a very easy route of MFT, 3-0, playing their style of the game, and their laners did very well, especially for Kurt.
Yeah, I think that was considered quite a weak point on that squad, so we got to see an impressive performance out of the top laner. But for the Deep Cross side of things, Leaky didn't really showcase a whole lot against PSG Talon. As you mentioned, he got completely mauled by Hanabi in the top side, and that could be troubling for this team as they had previously relied on him in the split. It's also happening at one of the worst times because Criscata has had some struggles in the postseason as well, and even towards the end of the regular split. So there are question marks on either side of this roster's rift. Whereas Nesty and Hana, they're going to be looking to hold things up. They do need their side lanes to really uphold their end of the bargain. This team, of course, has showcased a lot of power. They also are, in my opinion, one of the best drafting teams in the PCS. But they sometimes outdraft themselves, and that's the trouble.
They are a very hard team to pin down. The big picture for both of these teams is that they are very 80 carry focused. You have Criscata plus Eminem all doing 30+% damage, but on the side for DCG, they are a little bit more reliant on Leaky and his very wide champion pool. But on the other hand, for Frank Esports, they have Pretender, who plays a lot more champions than the other side in Nesty. So I think this matchup is going to pivot on a couple of very specific matchups. For both of these mid jungles, their best combination has been Viego plus Ahri. So if either team gets that, they're likely to run with a mid-game centric and reset composition. If not, I do expect the game to go a lot more grindy and a lot more long-term. Both of these teams do favor your front-to-back team fights. Kurt has been playing a lot of tanks, Leaky has been playing a lot of tanks, and their main carries are their ADCs. So it really depends on the picks available, but basically Ahri's going to be super contested, and also Gnar is going to be super contested.
Yeah, definitely some key pickups there, and I think it is really a big, bright, shining spot there for the mid lane of Deep Cross as that the Ahri starts to come a little bit more into vogue. We are comparing our two mid lanes, and the stats, as ever when you have Nesty in the mix, are going to look a little bit wonky. Nesty's damage numbers are the lowest in the league for mid laners, but that's mostly because of that champion you see in the middle, it's Bard and others like it. He is a player that does not play in the lane, he plays to roam. That's changed in recent weeks, however, as double enchanters, of course, have started to move their way out of the meta. Nevertheless, Nesty, a large experience gap that he does have over the side of Pretender, but Pretender is a young hotshot, and he is the substitute for PSG Talon, so clearly he has a pedigree, and critically, he's been the highest damage dealer and the highest damage share out of all the mid laners in the league this year.
It's been absolutely a pleasure to watch him grow up and just pick these champions with a lot more confidence. He started the season on a lot of control mages, but he was willing to go into more tempo picks like the Vex, like the Ahri later on. And I think because of the difference in the damage and late game carry potential, I think DCG are shifted in this matchup more towards a mid game focus. If they go late, you're gonna get a lot more mileage out of Pretender's champion pool than you are out of Nesty's. So I personally break this down as DCG more of a mid game focused team, while Frank Esports definitely carrying on the carry side. And you can tell from some of these picks already, Zeri off the board, the Galio being taken away, the best roamer, and of course, as we expected, Ahri is one of the biggest picks coming into this one.
Yeah, hugely contested. No surprise to see it picked up in the first round. And as you look at the bans too, Deep Cross really focusing on getting Hollow off those teamfight engaging champions, but he is going to be able to play the Lee Sin. Not as many Lee Sin games for him compared to most of the league, but he should still be competent on it as he has a long history of playing not only this champion, but in this role. Kurt is going to get that first lock in for Eminem. It is going to be the Aphelios, which has been his most played champion, far over the Jinx. He's a very consistent bot laner. Criscata, a lot more of a feast or famine, although it was a lot more feast early on, and this Jinx was one of the reasons why. So far, I would say both teams got a lot of what they wanted.
Exactly. I feel like Jinx really fits into the reset composition, and I do like that Frank Esports are setting up for kind of the classical counter to an Ahri pick, which is the Lee Sin plus LeBlanc combo. LeBlanc is a champion that Nesty doesn't play, and Pretender does, so that's going to be a slight advantage in the champion pools coming in from their side. And I also think that's why DCG is holding off committing to the full reset comp in the Viego, because if you run into double counter comps from Lee Sin and LeBlanc, it could get very difficult to get off the ground. So they're holding up onto that combo for now, and this is where things get interesting here. I think Pretender has a lot of incentive to actually hold his cards in. Pretender just plays so many other champions. He also has the Syndra, he's played the Corki, he's played the Silas. If I look across his board, he has 10 plus champions, so he's very happy to just sit back and kind of see how this draft develops, but he always has that LeBlanc to go to if it isn't banned.
I do think that it's interesting. Both these mid laners actually have such a massive champion pool that they've shown, but Nesty, it's like the one matchup that he actually gets outnumbered in, even though his champion pool is significantly weirder than that of Pretender. We get into the second phase of bans Nocturne off the table now, as the shoe's on the other foot with the jungle ban priority. LeBlanc is going to be removed, and not a whole lot of surprise there, as that is the optimal setup you were talking about. I would like to see what Pretender comes up with here, as the Jarvan is also removed. That was a champion that Holo piloted in the last time these two teams met, which was a Frank Esports win, by the way.
Yeah, these bans are fairly interesting. I think Frank is reading that they have to rely on this Aphelios, and maybe they're going to have to go with the tempo pick early on with Pretender. So a lot more damage is going to be coming from only their AD carry, especially for the mid parts of the fight. We are going to get the Victor lock-in. Now, this one is a bit slower across the board here, and I do feel like DCG are fairly happy to just pick up the Viego. This is one of the pivotal champions, I think, for Deep Cross Gaming in the postseason, because Hana didn't play a single game in the regular season of Viego, and then he showed up and crushed Beyond Gaming with it. So it's been kind of a secret weapon. And remember the pregame, we were talking about this. Whoever gets Ahri Viego, I think, has a huge leg up in the matchup. It allows them to snowball, it allows them to play more mid-game centric, and just based off of that, I have to say, I do favor DCG's draft quite a bit.
All right, well, we heard it there, and I do think they got everything they wanted out of this composition. The last pick's coming, it is the top side, and we'll be seeing a Tryndamere versus Gnar, champions that both of these players have a lot of experience on. Kurt is far and away most played. I'd say his best win rate, too, outside the Gwen, which is just completely dropped off the priority list, a complete fall to a 0% presence in the postseason compared to how it was in the regular split. But all the same, Kurt feels pretty confident on this Gnar, and I think Leaky, it's almost a balls in his court this time, Clement, because he got so thoroughly schooled by Hanabi. He kind of has to prove that that's just a blip on the radar. Kurt has traditionally not been the strongest top laner in the league, but I don't know. The way this postseason's going, things change.
Yeah, there's a couple things going up against Leaky. Number one, Kurt has just got to play so much Gnar. This is his 10th game on the champion, so he definitely knows the matchup quite well. And the other point is Leaky actually failed in this exact same matchup. Hanabi actually crushed him on the Gnar. So we'll see if he actually learns a little bit from this week's mistake. But I do want to go over the comps just a little bit more and why I still favor DCG a lot. They are running a very traditional triple dive composition. You have your Tryndamere, you have your Viego, you have the Ahri. There's triple resets here as well with the Viego, Jinx, and the Ahri composition. So if they can just pick off one kill at the start of the team fight, they should be able to snowball through the entire thing. And if you look on the other side for Frank Esports, this is a pretty difficult comp to pilot. It's very slow to get off the ground, especially with the Victor, and you also have to pick your moments with the Mega Gnar. So I just feel like the comp from DCG, it has ease of execution, and it is so much stronger in the early mid portions of the game. It allows them to snowball much easier.
And that's really what suits Deep Cross too, right? Because when we've critiqued this team, it is not necessarily the compositions they pick, but how well they're able to execute them. Ease of execution gives them a lot of versatility, gives them a lot of fallback if they need it. They do have a timer, of course, as you mentioned, even before the draft, that typically Frank Esports are going to play for the latest stages of the game. That Victor, that Aphelios, going to be a big part of it. But we'll see how well Holo can hold on early and help the lanes out. We'll also see what Kurt can do in this top lane matchup. See if maybe he was taking some notes from Hanabi as well. But as we get underway, no major surprises in the ways of the summoner spells or our runes. 2 glacial augments down on the bottom side as well. Definitely expect to be seeing some players button heads down there. I do think that, while Criscata has been a big hot shot, Eminem has kind of been the consistent player. He's definitely one of our candidates for top 2, top 3 AD carries. I feel like you can't say number 1 because Unified is just that much better than everybody, but all the same, still very, very solid.
If I'm really thinking about it, I feel like the trifecta for me definitely is Wako, Unified, and Eminem being thrown into the mix right here.
Where do you put Shun in there? That's I wonder.
Oh, Shun is so good as well, but I really want to see a little bit more out of his play. I think he's been allowed to just kind of play Xayah the entire way through, so I do want to see him on a couple more patches before I make a hard decision. But generally I think the veterans do fill in quite nicely, and I would say Criscata, Shun definitely filling out kind of that tier 2 just behind them. Looking at the meta, the matchups right here, I do want to point out, you picked this up already, double Glacial Augments into the bot lane, and we also have the PTA from Eminem, so there's a lot of early burst damage and gank potential coming in for the side of both of these bot lanes. I do expect both junglers to be going there, and for Frank Esports, at least in the early portions with the Lee Sin, to have a little bit more threat.
Yeah, that's why Woody's going a little deep into the jungle right now to try and get that ward down. Does see that the Gromp has been cleared away, so information gained, even if they don't have exact eyes on Holo. Of course, on the side of Hana, would be expecting him to... Ooh, as Nesty is under fire here. Pretender smelling some blood in the water with that laser. Going to force that back out of the Ahri. As we continue to see a few trade of health bars going down, that does shift things a little bit in the middle. Nesty still struggling a little bit right now.
This is a problem we have seen with Nesty and his champion pools. If he doesn't get off the ground early and he loses lane, then a lot of these sort of snowball-y tempo picks don't tend to work out very well. And I think that's definitely a case with the Ahri. Most of the times you do see her with the Everfrost build. Nesty prefers this build in most scenarios, and that's kind of a low damage build. So we'll see how this laning phase goes. He's forced to use a very early teleport here. And the lane trade, I frankly wasn't very impressed with it. He burns his charm right in front of the cannon minion and has to take the full QE combo. Now we do have Holo unspotted. Let's see if he can catch out Leaky.
Yeah, Leaky did turn around before he went too deep into the brush. Doesn't have that ward down, and actually just going to take the long tri-brush path over to the Krugs, but he may be going in for a return lane gank after the fact. Hana going to show face in mid lane as well, but as I was going to mention before, he is going to take probably a little more time before he shows him in the lane. We do occasionally see those Viego ganks early, but you really do want to have access to that Heartbreaker in order to start popping off on your resets. He is going to take a chance and get a bit of counter jungling in, though. This is a nice chicken take. Nesty's going to cover him, and Pretender is way right now, so there's not much he can do to stop this as Holo comes in to find his camp is gone.
Yeah, really nice steak here from Hana. They did have the earlier word onto the Krug, so they knew that Lee Sin was still on the top side of the jungle, and Pretender hasn't used his TP just yet. I love how our observers just love us showing us players who miss cannons. Like, this is one of their... this kind of the observer just, like, dunking on people.
It's like the observer version of, like, looking for the Wilhelm scream in movies, right? Like, it's going to happen at some point, and you just need to look out for it. Here's the dive. Speaking of looking out, Kurt could be in some trouble. Level 5 on this Gnar. Leaky won't have access to his ultimate either. But he flashes. Oh, looks like they are able to dodge a bit of damage, but not enough from all three as First Blood does go down. They juggle the aggro well.
Yeah, really nicely done right here. I love the idea of just roaming Nesty when Pretender is going back on that teleport. So they know they have a clear 3v1. They also spotted Holo on the bottom side too. So just a complete tempo outplay coming in here. And I think very importantly, the kill did go over to Leaky. He didn't have to burn any of his summoners. He gets that extra kill. And, in these Tryndamere versus Gnar matchups, it typically is a very balanced matchup. Like, if one side gets a lead, it can swing quite heavily towards one or the other. And now we do have the Boots 2 coming out with the Berserker Greaves coming in from Leaky, and he's just about to hit level 6. So Kurt actually is in a lot of pressure, and I do think Holo has to compensate for that by looking to cover his lane a bit more.
If there's one thing that Frank has struggled with in this season, it has been early game pressure and trying to secure the first bloods. They actually are the worst team in the league when it comes to actually securing first blood for themselves, which of course, you know, by the opposite property, they get first blooded quite a bit. Kurt himself has definitely been on the receiving end of that a number of times. Leaky already off to a better start than he was in all 3 games against PSG Talon.
Yeah, and we have to remember that, you know, if Tryndamere does get going, we have seen Tryndamere's just go for the second item Hull Breaker and start to split push away. Now, this is definitely a line that DCG could take. I actually think they have a very good 1-3-1. They can double up Hana on one of these side lanes and just start picking people off. You do find a stun.
Found. Yeah, Holo already taking a little bit of damage down there. Shouldn't be able to clear him away as he's able to Sonic Wave over to his own chickens. But Hana's not done with this yet. He really wants to threaten here with the Blade of the Ruined King. And he's just forcing Holo out of his own jungle. This is level 5 on level 5, and the Viego's putting out more pressure than the Lee.
I think this was the problem we saw coming with the Victor pick being locked in from Pretender. I actually think Pretender's probably the better mid laner among the two, but in this matchup, Victor just doesn't do much. He really needs to get all his shards down. He needs to get the evolve on the Death Ray before he can start controlling his own wave, and that just gives the weaker jungle, Viego, so much more access to the jungle. He's able to bully the Lee Sin out. We're seeing a very clear split map situation here, but I fail to see how Frank Esports can really punish. They're going to need some massive outplays if they actually want to make anything sort of a dive happen here and see if they hit level 6.
I do think this is the lane to really focus on, whereas M&M and K2 have certainly looked a bit more consistent, a bit better than the likes of Kriskata and Woody. Meanwhile, though, we got to check in on top because Leaky is acting a little bit here as he takes a bit of damage. Hana's going to cut the wave off. Here comes the hard path, and they go in. Easy peasy as you like, and Leaky is going to be able to get the kill time 2, and Hana even picks up the assist.
Oh, that just has to feel so bad, and I have to give props to DCG. Incredibly well timed on that one. They come in just as Kurt is about to go into mini. He doesn't have his ultimate anymore. He doesn't get the extra HP, and they just walk in as easy as you like, tag him with the Spectral Maul, and take him down. All they lose in the bottom side is just 2 turret plates, and if you look at the trade back from DCG here, they equalize on the plates. Alone in the top lane, they get the kill, and they also have the extra Herald. So a massive win for DCG.
Yeah, this is big. Holo's doing his damnedest to just try and take away as much of Hana's jungle, and Hana's just like, fine, that's okay. I can go ahead and farm off champions instead and try to get myself up towards the top side. So you do see the map kind of starting to shift a little bit, but the control that Deep Cross have, top side, is so much better than what Frank are able to get done bottom. And also, the farm game is very close, and both of these AD carries have gone for a Cole start, and it's so similar in the gold game. Kriskata's going to have that high value later as long as he doesn't get shut down, and so far so good. Leaky back up to the top side, 1v1ing now, a pretty significant CS and kill lead. Should translate to a lot of gold for Leaky, who, honestly, after a bit of a nightmare against Sanabi, I feel like he's certainly woken up.
Yeah, to be completely honest, Kurt definitely a bit of the weak point on this roster. So we expected Leaky to have a lot of free room, and I have to give it to Leaky. He's done so well against top laners not named Hanabi. He's done very well in the Liang matchup as well, while playing on the blue side. This is one of the greatest strengths of Leaky, is that he has such a good champion pool. He can afford to get countered. Ooh, Frank trying to find something.
All right, K2 gets the jump in on, but Woody is taking quite a lot of damage. Nesty around the side here. It's the 3v3 skirmish in the jungle. Woody is actually going to be able to walk away as Pretender. Didn't quite have the damage on him. Hana now running for the hills, but he gets caught out by the Sonic Wave of Holo. So Frank, with the element of surprise, do manage to grab a kill, but it was a very labored one.
Really nicely done by Frank Esports. I didn't think that was necessarily a great fight for them, but they managed to get most of the damage in early. They chunk Hana out with the AoE, Chaos Storm just right off the bat here. So they're able to get a huge chunk of damage off. So they essentially force DCG, and DCG are kind of essentially down a rotation here. Holo gets the 2-man kick here as well, forces Hana to get out, and he finds the beautiful flash Q for the finish up kill. That's a big stopgap to the snowball that we saw from DCG, especially from the mid jungle.
Yeah, that's massive right now because they really needed to start slowing the bleeding a bit. All started by Woody getting caught, but as you mentioned, kind of caught in rotation a little bit did mean that the fight looked a little bit scuffed. Kind of on both sides, but Deep Cross definitely not quite as much. Meanwhile, Hana hasn't missed a beat as he goes right back up to the top. And Operation Bully Kurt is in full swing, but who is bullying who? That's a massive Gnar against the wall, and Leaky is forced to ult to stay alive. Hana now on the run, but he gets Goomba stomped, and Kurt is just having a blast as he turns the 1v2. Pretender's teleport was not even needed.
Yeah, Victor didn't even need to go there. That was just straight up 1v2 win from Kurt. This time around, DCG mistimed the Mega Gnar bar. They thought they could kill Kurt before he got the Mega. Didn't happen for them. They run right into the Mega Gnar ultimate. And that tempo swing is going to hurt a lot here. We're going to take another look at this replay. Once again, they're coming in, but I feel like they got a little bit greedy right here. The play could have very well happened with Hana just dropping the Herald, securing the first brick gold here without them going through the hassle of risking the dive. I think this was... I just don't see it as worthwhile to save the Herald for an extra charge on the tier 2 in that situation, when you could have just picked up a clean tower.
Yeah, now Kurt's got back on the board with the kill. He's still very down in the CS, but that's a lifeline. And, you know, not to mention, Clement, we have Frank Esports stacking on Drakes. We have an Infernal Rift already as they have been trading out when moves have been made topside. They've been countering on the bottom. That's 2 Drakes in a row. And Deep Cross are going to have to do something about it because, remember, this is a late-game composition as it tends to be from Frank.
Yeah, exactly. And now we have Eminem.
Oh, okay. Chriscata getting chased down. Very clutch use of the cleanse to get away from the 1v1 and Eminem. There is a Herald push in the mid. Doesn't end up resulting in first brick as we are 12.5 minutes into the game and still haven't seen the tower fall. 2-2 kill still.
Point out right now that Nesty is going for more wave clear build. We have seen this in the Ahri versus Victor matchup. It's quite difficult for the Ahri to get out of lane because Victor in most cases can just trade through the minion waves that much easier. So Nesty is forced in a very low damage build, and that does start to bring into a lot of questions. I feel like in terms of the straight up 5v5s, DCG don't have a very good chance to overtake Frank Esports. They're going to have to play more and more into this top side, and they can't afford to funnel kills Kurt way into Kurt.
Yeah, that's going to be a little difficult. I will say, with the Gale Force completed by Leaky right now, he should have a little bit of a timing window, and he is a little bit ahead of the curve anyhow, despite that kill going back over. Holo is going to catch out that Hana is doing red buff. However, Frank doing a pretty good job of controlling the area around the back of the Dragon Pit. A lot of vision invested, so they're going to have eyes on both Woody and Hana as they sense that one, clear the ward away. Chriscata quietly been farming up. He's a little bit behind on his Mythic, but not by much, as he only has 4 more minions before the Cole comes through. We take a look at the final plates, of course, 3 up top, not surprising. However, it was equalized by Frank on the bottom. As a result, the gold game very close right now, just 1,000.
Yeah, and taking a look at the items right here, we have Eminem, I think, correctly going for the Executioner build here, and he does need a bit more of that mid-game power to make sure that Pretender can come online a bit later here as well. So I do like the build for here from Eminem, and we have seen this from him quite often. He does go for the serrated second just to make sure that his mid laner can scale up to where he is a little bit stronger. And to no surprises, DCG back to their old tricks right here. It just seems like Holo has given up on Kurt, and to be completely honest, this is kind of Frank Esports play style. They treat top lane as very much a punching bag and keep him on an island.
Yeah, it is a trade of towers, but a Deep Cross just get in there a little bit quicker to get first brick, so advantage them there. And they also are going to be able to get aside a Rift Herald as well. But Eminem is free hitting. He's going to get a tier 2. Look at how fast he shreds through that tower.
He's got the perfect guns to do so as well, coming in with the Shakarums here, doing massive amounts of damage, and this is gonna get a bit hairy for the next Drakes here. I don't think DCG actually have enough of a lead to feel comfortable in the mid-game fights, despite them having the Ahri and the Viego. So If we're going into these next Drake fights, I could actually foresee Frank Esports, even though they're with the scaling composition, they come into the Drake as a 5-man, they force a fight, and if they get a decisive one, they could just wipe DCG off the map. So the next two Drakes, the next one right now is going to be super critical. For Frank Esports, control your Mega Gnar bar, make sure you stay as 5, nobody gets picked off, you hold your ground, and you should have a very decided advantage.
We'll see if they can pull it off. Looking for the setup, 10 seconds until the dragon spawns. You saw the gold difference too. Eminem, 1,000 to him alone, just on those towers and plates over the Jinx. Rift Herald popped in the mid. This is going to buy Deep Cross an opportunity to get in there. Should get the charge off. Does manage to finish the tower in the mid. Deep Cross have the inside track on the Dragon Pit, but they are not opting to do it just yet. They would like to bait Frank into a trap as they try to clear through the wards, only managing to get that one in the inner brush there. And they are going to proc this dragon a little bit late.
Frankie's
Keep your eyes on Leaky.
They need to make sure nobody gets focused down. This is a reset comp, so even though they don't have the best 5v5, they could still snowball this off the first kill. Here we go.
Okay, they get the start, and that's a big charm. Double knockup. They do lose Woody, but Kurt's already almost down to 0. A little zoned out as the rocket does come through to cut down a few more health bars. Stun back against. Leaky is not able to get too much done, but he buys time for his team to try and get in there. That's massive right now on the reset. Hana and Nesty are looking for more. Pretender is limping away, and Kriskata is able to take him down on the rocket snipe. Well played for Deep Cross Gaming.
So well done on the side of DCG right there. The start of it was a little iffy, if I'm being completely honest. I'm not sure about starting on the Mega Gnar as your primary target. They didn't find the reset, but I feel like afterwards, DCG actually overchased a bit and gave that opening over to, Frank Esports overchased a bit and gave that opening over towards Nesty to finish off the backline. So we'll start this fight from the start. Remember, DCG win condition. They want that early reset, but they blow way too many cooldowns on Kurt, who stays alive. So I think the start of the fight was actually a little bit scuffed in that sense, but Holo isn't able to finish off the kill here. He goes down, and Eminem critically over chases here, uses his flash and Gale Force right in front of Nesty, gives that opening for the Ahri to finish off the kills, and then Kriskata finds the snipe. So I feel like, if Frank were a little bit more patient, that was actually a very good opening for them to kind of take control of the game. But they went a little bit too greedy, especially for Eminem's side.
Yeah, and that is something that we don't often see from Eminem, from some of the other members of Frank, but Deep Cross really coming out ahead on that one. They get a couple of kills. Leaky manages to do well in that. Nesty does well, and so does Kriskata. That snipe on the zap. That's just such a feels-good moment when you're able to pick up that reset on the back half of the fight, because he can start running wild. He's able to fire down the tower after it, and critically, they cut down the Drake stack. It was a little close, but they did a great job of waiting out the Sonic Wave timer and just trying to take advantage of that small window before he got his Q back up and available. So Holo just didn't have an easy way in. All said and done, Deep Cross in the driver's seat now at the 19-minute mark. They do have a 3,000 gold lead, and they've managed to stabilize what was going to be the advantage of Frank, which is that soul point.
Oof, and there are a lot of kills going over towards Leaky, which really opens up that split push avenue for DCG as well. He's now 3-0-1. Doesn't even need the Hull Breaker because he's that far ahead. Is going to go for the Navori Quick Blade. I think this is a much stronger teamfight item compared to the Hull Breaker. It gives you those extra cooldown reduction, so you can spin a few more times for the backline. And, looking at the way Eminem has been playing today, the flash forward to chase down kills, I feel like he might have an easy time at finding those targets. Here we go.
And they're finding targets themselves. Holo actually gets caught up, but they do manage to get the charm into the combo as Nesty takes down Eminem, and the teleport comes in a little bit after the fact. Not even required there, as it's just a smash and grab for Deep Cross, looking for more openings on the map.
They know there were no summoners on Eminem, so very easy pickup. They cut out from the right side. Complete vision darkness for Frank Esports, and I feel like they're not going to be able to get that Athelios hyper carry online. This is the lethality build for him, and if you look at the Victor, he's also pretty far from dealing tons of damage. He has gone for the Everfrost just to disengage a little bit better from the triple dive, so he's going to be lacking damage compared to the Luden's build as well. And on the other hand, you have Kurt, who is just not had a very great time this game. So
No,
I feel
not
like,
at all.
yeah, Frank, if they want to get online with their big hyper carry team fights, we're looking at a very long timer. It's definitely a post 30-minute game before they really have a say in team fights.
Yeah, it's going to be some time, and I think Kurt as well is going to have a little bit of a hard time dealing 1v1 up against this this Tryndamere right now, as Leaky is just kind of like fully online, as you mentioned, the quick blades. He has a stride breaker himself, so he has a lot of chase down potential, but in a straight up 1v1, it's probably not going to look as good as it did when he had the outplay topside. That really was unforced errors by Hana and Leaky. And now with another Infernal Dragon spawning in 30 seconds, it's Deep Cross that have the impetus and the inside track to set this up. Leaky on the bottom does have an opportunity to come in and join the fight, so it does seem like Deep Cross have built themselves into a very flexible team fight or skirmish comp, so long as they're the ones choosing the angles.
Yeah, and with Tryndamere being this fed, Leaky can kind of choose which area to flank in. You can tell that Frank Esports are a little bit paranoid about the right side of the map. They do send Kurt over to drop a couple of wards, and we are getting to the point where it's possible for DCG to try and forcefully still find him.
That's the hook on Eminem from downtown, and he's just focused down by Griscata and Nesty. The rest of the team is easy pickings. That's a double kill for the Jinx. Looking for more. Pretender drops. Rocket dodge, but it just doesn't matter. That was beautiful as they set up the hook from downtown for a Woody.
Woody with the 200 IQ prediction there. Eminem gets the Gal Force, but he can't dodge away from the dredge line anyway. DCG get the full 3-man, and they're also going to take away both objectives here. This is Agent Kurt, but I don't think he's going to be successful here.
No, I already tried for the boomerang, but Leaky already smelling him on the outplay. Does manage to grab this, so with the 3 remaining members on Baron, not a whole lot that Frank can do to contest either side. So it's a massive windfall for Deep Cross off the back of a great fight. I'm loving the coordination between Griscata and Nesty. Let's take a look at that again as Woody set up the longest range hook that I've seen.
Oh, that was absolutely beautiful right here. And I did think he actually predicted that. He knew that Eminem would likely flash towards where they didn't have vision, so he sent his dredge line a little bit over towards the right side. Just such a smart use of the ability right there. I know the ability has a massive hitbox, that's definitely true, but I still read that as a prediction, a 200 IQ outplay coming in from Woody.
Yeah, and Woody has been a little 50-50 in these playoffs, right? He's earned a lot of critique because he has taken a number of those dredge lines that maybe he shouldn't have. But that was absolutely brilliant, and this is why we see him time and again on this champion, on engaged style champions, because he does have that killer instinct. Whether it is right or wrong, I think that is for historians to decide, but this time it certainly worked out. Meanwhile, the 4-1 is in full effect. Leaky, 2-level advantage on Kurt, is getting chased away as the Narbar starts to get built up here, but they can turn it right around, and Deep Cross own Frank's jungle.
Yeah, there's no way for Frank to really crack back in at this moment. Like we said, Frank Esports at this point in time are completely lacking in damage. They need that third item from Eminem to really have a say in this, and Predator still sitting on just the Everfrost. So DCG can kind of do whatever they want right now, and I feel like Frank had no choice but to sit back and just try to farm it up. They can't even get into, like, I don't even see a combination where they have kill threat right now against DCG.
They kind of need a miracle fight. I mean, I think it would come down to Kurt with a great Gnar flank. You know, we haven't really seen the big team fight Gnar. He's been targeted a number of times, admittedly, but we haven't seen those deep flanks. We haven't seen the teleports come through, and that window's kind of closed. And I think that's the issue, is that, you know, when you play a champion like Gnar for a team fight, it's risky because you need to have the outplay potential. You need to be able to execute around your Narbar, and we just haven't seen that out of him, not in this game.
Yeah, he's just been put so far behind here, and I think for DCG, they're loving this game. You always love it when the enemy team takes away the 2 less important Drakes for you, and you get to roll onto a quad Infernal. That's always like the highlight of my League of Legends experience.
It does feel good when you're able to do it. I mean, they had to earn that first one pretty hard, but like off the back of it, it just looks so much better for a team that does want to go for the outplays and go for the fights. And Oh man, even the blue buff taken away from Pretender. He's not having a great time. He has had not a lot of mana this game.
Yeah, Holo next on the target. Everfrost goes through.
Oh, the charm, the hook! Oh dear! K2 is gonna be dead after just a brief moment. Woody's sure to follow him after that, but I think that's a trade D-Cross are okay with because they keep the engage going. Maybe they shouldn't, as they get a little bit too greedy and they get pushed away. An even trade for Frank Esports.
Leaky somehow manages to limp away right there with just less than 100 HP. So another good catch here by DCG, and they're making it look so damn easy. Kurt had to burn his TP to come into that one. He did have his Mega Gnar, but wasn't able to save the rest of the team. And again, we're seeing DCG just walk away with the entire jungle portion of Frank Esports. We're going to watch this again. The charm does land across the wall coming in from Nesty. They finish off the kill on the support. They get the teleport here, and this is where things got a little bit dicey. You know, Eminem nearly takes down Leaky throughout all of this. Could have potentially found the kill, but doesn't find it just there. Somehow sub 100.
Bounty. Oh, he's got 700 gold bounty on his head. I mean, that's almost a tilter to not get that kill. I mean, that was a Gale Force difference right there. But all the same, it is still an even trade for Frank, which, you know, I suppose when you're this far behind, you do take those. But it was probably the best angle they were able to get. They really got a nice choke point to drop everything from the Victor. But it doesn't result in a whole lot of advantages for them, as we are seeing more chip damage come out of this tower. This should go down despite the Victor and the Lee Sin being there. So that's the last of the outside the base turrets, and Frank are going to have to find a miracle.
Yeah, they just have to drag this thing on even longer. So if we're looking at the objectives right here, the Infernal Soul will come up at about 32 minutes into the game time. And if we're thinking about that game time, it will have Pretender with 3 items. Eminem will have 3 items. So I think that's their next big play here, to try and delay the Baron until the fight is more just centered around the 32-minute Infernal Soul, and that would give it enough time to at least walk in with 3 completed carries.
Yeah, but Deep Cross have definitely got some good dragons for themselves to cut away the scaling factor. Also a very slippery team comp. Nesty gone for the more defensive build with the Banshee's Veil. But he's also added a little bit of spice in because there's a Magi Soul Stealer with 12 stacks on, because why the heck not? He hasn't died this game. So there's a lot going well for Deep Cross Gaming's side, especially from the carries. In fact, none of them have died in this game, with the exception of the Viego. And Hana's having a good game himself. He's been doing all right. A few oopsies in the early game up top, but you can hardly blame it. And now he's contesting on the red buff of Holo, has a 3-level advantage. That's what counter jungling can do for you.
Guys can take that down easily. For DCG in the next couple of time frame, the most important thing is to get the fight started at Baron. This is when you don't have that Infinity Edge done for Eminem, so they will be playing with the triple crit 80 carry against the 2-item 80 carry. A massive power spike for them. And for Frank Esports, I feel like you could give up your bot lane inhibitor tower, but you have to stop DCG from just taking the momentum right here.
They've actually got 3 around the back of the pit because Chris Gotta does so much damage, and Hana does make his way in, Leaky makes his way in. They're going to move away, and the engage is on. Woody does get the knockup, and he is going to be sacrificed, but will they be able to get the fight on? Oh, the rocket doesn't quite execute. Nesty, though! He wants it once again, couldn't quite find it on the Orb of Deception or the Foxfire, so Deep Cross walk away empty-handed. They lose Woody, and that's the best-case scenario for Frank, you have to think.
Yeah, huge win coming in from DCG, but I have to say I'm a little bit puzzled by the angle of engage right there. If you're DCG, you can actually allow Frank to develop that play a little bit more, and your best angle for catching them out is actually not forcing yourself up the ramp. That's probably the worst play you could do in that position. You want them to walk down the ramp and then section off their front line and back line. That's typically how you would play it, but I feel like Woody he didn't need to engage right there.
Exactly. That's the issue, is that Woody has a killer instinct. The problem is he doesn't have an off switch for it. So he likes to set up the plays, but the team was not in position to work with it. I do think they wanted it, but like Criscata wasn't anywhere near it. Nesty kind of hard forced on the back half and burned his ult to try and get in position. Now they're going to try and set up a bit more of a death press situation. Leaky's not with the team, however, but I think you feel pretty confident that you can get the counter push. Now they're going to bring him back. as there is a control ward down, not quite fully. He's just going to keep starving Frank of jungle. I mean, just look at the CS between the two junglers, because Hana has been taking so much away from Holo this game, accounting for at least some of that level deficit. Nesty waiting around the side. This Baron already down to about 7,500 hit points. Nesty does dodge away. That's null charge burn. They are going to peel away from this. I feel like you don't have to show your hand here, Deep Cross. They do just let it reset.
Again, I feel like DCG are playing this a little bit. I think they're a little bit too eager at getting the engage on top of the red side. While it's not really necessary, you know? they can just fan out and keep themselves hidden in the left side of the mid lane brush. I feel like that's a much better catch position than the backside of the red. If you look at the backside of the red, this is an Infernal Soul, and it's a very open map. So that just gives Frank so much ground to kind of retreat back towards, and it forces DCG for Tryndamere and Hana to actually burn gap closers to engage. So I just feel like DCG, they have the right idea on sticking to the Baron. They don't want to play a split map objective. That gives Frank Esports a lot more outs. So I think that is commendable. But the way they've actually tried to set up these engages definitely could use a bit more planning, I think. they could
a bit more
play a lot
patience
more
as well.
patience. Oh.
Yeah, gold lead is plateaued, but it is
There
still
we
about
go.
10,000, excuse me, and it might be more, as Kriskata gets the rocket hit for the final, as Nesty lined it right up for him. Kurt on the run, and those Jinx rockets are starting to sting. K2 with the dodge, but he can't get out of the charm as he's pulled in. However, Nesty gets blown to pieces, but here comes Leaky to the rescue. Kurt is forced to shove him back and away, and Pretender is going absolutely nowhere as Hana chases him down for the double kill. That is the ace for 2, and they're on the base.
Love that play coming from DCG. The unexpected Ahri is always the most dangerous one. But the question is, can they actually finish this round? Holo is here in 11 seconds, so it will be very tight. And you don't have that ultimate from Leaky anymore in this one.
They do have a lot of damage, though. A lot of wave clear with the Jinx. Leaky, Hana as well helping out. They're going to be able to get at least one Nexus turret, looking for the second one. Here comes Holo to try and save the day. Leaky's
Dragon
low.
Rage.
Does have his
Ooh, doesn't
ultimate.
get the
Should he
carry.
need it, they're going to peel away from him, and that's going to be it. K2 can do nothing, as in 33 minutes, Deep Cross take game 1 against Frank.
Great understanding of their win conditions right there. DCG do not give Frank Esports a chance to go and contest the Infernal, so they make sure that they finish things before both Pretender and Eminem get online to their full power spikes, and they stomp Frank Esports in this game 1.
Yeah, early game, there were definitely some chances for Frank to come back into it. I did like the Kurt 1v2 outplay. There was some signs of the skill that he has shown on that Gnar. There was a pretty good turnabout for the team bot side. Eminem definitely started to be pulling ahead of Kriskata for a little bit on the turret plate gold that he was able to get for himself. And even in the mid lane, Pretender had quite a lot of lane pressure built up against Nesty, but it didn't really matter once the fights and the skirmishes got started, despite the fact that Deep Cross Gaming set up a number of those in probably a less than optimal way. They were able to out-execute 9 times out of 10, and that's all they had to do.
Yeah, I feel like in the early game, Frank Esports actually out-executed or outplayed what their draft was supposed to give them. They were doing a lot better in the Victor at the mid-jungle matchup. You know, top lane got a kill, and bot lane was actually pretty far ahead with the early Mythic spike. But it did come down to that third Drake. They lost, I believe it was a 1-for-4 trade, plus Infernal Drake and the Baron. That was a little bit too much to lose in the mid-game, and that really kind of doomed them. Going into the draft here, I do have one massive pet peeve about this draft from Frank Esports. I think R3 or Leona was a bit of a troll here. Like, I think in R3, you 100% you have to pick the LeBlanc here. You have to make sure you have a bit more of a fighting chance in the mid jungle, and you have to make sure that I think you're getting Pretender on something that actually has a bit more mid-game impact. I think Pretender had an extremely quiet game right here. The Leona, I mean, you weren't going to engage anyway. You already saw the Jinx and the Ahri. You know that this is a full-on like dive sort of situation. So the Leona never even used her abilities in an aggressive fashion. So I just think this Leona R3 instead of the LeBlanc really veered their draft into a direction that was way too passive.
I agree with you. I think that it was a little bit of high prio on a very prevalent support champion, but that's not what they needed this comp to be able to do. And the issue, you know, obviously not having access to the LeBlanc was a problem, but even worse is the fact that by playing on a champion like Victor that sits so far back, that is so mana thirsty. He just didn't have a way to cover the entrance to the jungle. It allowed Hana to basically free roam in, and he started setting Holo behind. I mean, there was such a gap in experience and farm in the jungle because Hana was just so aggressive at counter jungling. They were able to take away heralds off the back of it too. Even a few mistakes, I mean, it didn't matter. Like, the Viego was still a constant threat all game, and Deep Cross had so many threats all game, and the execution just proved it in the end. There's the gold graph on this one. Things started to swing in Deep Cross's favor a little bit before that 20-minute mark, but it barely stopped. And I do want to commend Woody. He had some great hooks. A few he probably shouldn't have taken, but you see why there's so much priority for him on this engaging Nautilus, because he can set up picks for the team and start to pocket the kills for Kriskata and for Nesty.
This is the problem as Frankie Esports if you're so reliant on your bot lane Eminem as your carry. I don't think Eminem played a particularly good game, and he's over a third of the team's damage here. And if you look at their compositions, he's probably more than a third, given that Victor comes online so late. So we're going to have to keep track of this. If Eminem has a bad day, it's super hard for Frankie Esports to win. It's almost basically impossible for them to win. And
they do need him.
Yeah, they do need him. And this game, I felt like he flashed way too early in the third Drake fight, and the other two picks, honestly, he could have played those a little bit more carefully. So it doesn't seem like it's been a particularly strong day for Eminem.
And it has been a particularly strong game for Nesty as he earns the MVP. I think he could have given it to Kriskata as well, but he was on point with those charms. Played a more defensive build overall, but he did add some razzle-dazzle, added some damage in the form of that Medjai's. And sure, he died once. That's okay. He did exactly what he needed to. And, this is pretty good damage numbers for Nesty, 25% of the team. Normally he's rocking like a 17, 18%. So it's nice to see him on these more meta picks because he does have a good take on it. He knows how to read the map. He knows how to roam and set up plays for his team. He's never going to be the lane dominant player, but that's fine because he can be the game dominant player.
Exactly, and I feel like Ahri is so important for DCG in the playoffs because they actually get enough damage from Nesty to allow them to play a late game composition. If you take the Ahri off of his rotation, his next champions are Twisted Fate, Galio, and Rise, and he drops back down to sub 20% damage contribution. Yeah. We don't talk about the Vigor. It's not been particularly useful.
There's definitely some scuffed ones for sure. But yeah, I think for next game, assuming that Frankie Sports end up choosing the blue side, which would make the most sense, there is every reason to suggest that the Ahri is still going to be that first pickup if it's not banned away. But we'll have to find out as we do have a short break before we return for game number 2.
CTBC Bank is Taiwan's top financial institution, but we're not stopping there. We're crafting an international brand and already have over 260 outlets in 14 countries. We are by your side, ready to embrace the future.
Your family.
Ooh, I am loving every time I hear that sound. It is the PCS playoffs. You just got to get trained up for it. You got to get that response and you get the blood flowing. And certainly Deep Cross Gaming did in that first game against Frank here. We'll see if they can do it again, Clement. But before we do get into our pre-match banter, I want to take another moment to thank our sponsors. Of course, CTBC Bank and Caliber. Thank you so much for making the PCS possible this split. And my goodness, it was a crushing victory in game number 1, even though Frank did show some signs of life. We need to see more out of them. And I think just about everybody's diagnosed it, Clement. The LeBlanc, that was an unfortunate error to not pick that up. The Ari certainly will be contested this time around as Frank had moved over to blue side.
Yeah, my predictions for this series is whoever gets Ari and Viego together is probably just going to win the game. I feel like that's going to be the pivot for both of these teams here. We do have Frank Esports on the blue side. I 100% expect Ari to just be taken in. Well, DCG know it too. But this is where things get interesting because, as we've mentioned, Nestie's champion pool after the Ari gets a bit bonkers. It's very difficult to predict where he's going to go. Rise is kind of the mainstay, but I also feel like Rise as a champion is fairly limited in this meta. I definitely don't think he's an S tier pick at this point anymore, and it does change DCG into much more of a frontline heavy team composition where we have seen them run a lot of things like Sejuani Kennen from the top lane plus the Rise to make sure that Kriskata can be a hyper carry.
Absolutely, but whenever you change those things, it gets a little bit more hectic to try and get a more reliable fight. As we see the bans coming in, a couple more targeted at Nestie, that is going to be the Galio and the Twisted Fate off the board. First up, Frank do start off with the Aphelios. It's matched by the Zaya, which has been the counter in vogue there for Kriskata. He has been picking it up more and more in recent weeks, as has most of the league. Into the second rotation, Volibear completely missed out on last time. I believe it was banned away. Should fall into the hands of Hana. This does give quite a lot of engage potential, and it will be locked.
I feel like Volibear is my go-to jungler of 12.5. It's incredibly easy to do tower dives with. You have great ganking potential because you can flash in with a hard crowd control, and it's also just a tank in front-to-back team fight. So for me, Volibear has been the most versatile pick throughout the entirety of playoffs. DCG getting off to a good start. Frank Esports keeping their cards very close to their chest, and this is interesting to see for me because I feel like if you're playing on the blue side, you need a very strong, cohesive composition. You're not going to get any of the benefits of the counter picks here. So Frank Esports so far, if I'm looking at these first 3 picks, and if you ask me, are these power picks? My answer is a decided no. I don't feel like Frank Esports has made much of this blue side draft just yet.
No, they haven't. The Trundle comes in, and of course, Deep Cross are going to pair the Rakan for Woody with Kriskata Zion. Considering how they played last time around, I think this laning phase certainly could look quite good for this team. K2 on the Nautilus, even though he did a bit of a takeaway there from Woody, I don't know if it's going to be quite as effective. Into the second phase of bans we go. We do see the Tryndamere removed. No chance for Kurt or Leaky to play that one, and now the Rise. They continue to hammer at Nestie's champion pool, so things are definitely going to get weird this game.
Yeah, afterwards, he's played Kaisa, he's played Seraphine, of course, the Bard Smite from very, very long time ago.
Oh man, what if that comes back? He's played an Ivern, too. I'm surprised if it does. Yeah, he's played Ivern. He also played a Seraphine, but that was against Frank, and they lost. It didn't really do that much. I'd be surprised to see it. The Zillions come in as well. I mean, there are options. We could honestly even see something completely different from Nestie. What if he just, like, pulls out the Silas or something, you know? Like, but I think we're going to save it for last rotation. Maybe not, actually.
Yeah, it's hard to see where DCG can go. They do have a very strong early game right now, so they could play into early game roam because their bot lane is winning. And that does seem to be the answer that they're going to go for. So they had the double crowd control on the Volibear and the LeBlanc. This can just power through whatever advantages solo that the Trundle does have over the Volibear. Frankly, I don't even think Trundle beats Volibear that hard until post level 6. So they should feel very comfortable in this matchup. On the other hand, for Frank Esports, I like Pretender's Vex. This has been his best champion throughout the regular split. I'm not so sure about this teamfight potential. I feel like if you want to run the Vex, you want a secondary champion that can flank with her, and that is not really present in Frank Esports' composition. So this Vex is going to have to be a bit of a zoning Vex, probably using that personal space as a tool to keep people away.
Yeah, we'll have to see how effective it is, but they do add one more Yordle into the mix, so Kurt will go 2-2 on this Gnar. Last pickup. Oh, action!
Lock it! Both are fine.
Come on, Leaky.
Give me the action.
Give us the action. I mean, I wouldn't mind the Lucian either, but give us the action. Come on.
It would be the first time an action was picked, I think. Oh, no.
I think it would be, but no, we get the GP. I still like this for Leaky. It's definitely been a champion that he's had a lot of solid games on. 3 games undefeated over the course of the regular split. I mean, this definitely gives them a pretty solid 1-3-1 kind of setup. You talked about early game and mid game tempo. It's definitely something Deep Cross are going to be able to do here. A lot of powerful picks. Hana's going to be able to run across the map pre-6 and do whatever the heck he wants. So there's a lot to like here. On the opposite side, Frank, I think they're trying to play to their relative strengths, but it is another composition that feels a little more I want to say like stitched together at the last second.
It is a much slower comp. I think this is a comp that is built for pitched battles. So if they find themselves in front of objectives and they put up the pillar, they put up the fear field coming in from the looming shadows here, they could just disengage multiple times in a team fight and keep Eminem incredibly safe. But on the other hand, I feel like DCG have identified that Eminem really hasn't been looking all that sharp today, and they have come up with let's just kill bot lane composition. You have the cannon barrage from the top side, you have a winning bot lane combination, and you also have a mid jungle that can roam against Vex and Trundle early. So if I'm looking at this comp, DCG, sure, it's not exactly a great team fight composition, but they don't need to go into the 5v5s. I think their game plan is just going to be to crush down on Eminem and take that 1/3 of Frank's damage down with that attempt.
Absolutely. Deep Cross going all in on shutting down Eminem. See if they can crack that candy coating into the chocolate within. We'll have to find out here as we load onto the Rift. I love that Nesty is just pulling out the LeBlanc to pair things up. We do have a pause getting underway as we start this game because, it's only with Nesty is it unexpected to do something standard. So it's almost like the Gigabrain, 5D chess play, you know? It's like, oh, can he play LeBlanc? I guess we'll find out.
I'll be honest, I'm not 100% confident that he's going to be a great LeBlanc. But that being said, I think for the most part, as a LeBlanc, if you're roaming around the map and you have decent accuracy with chains, you're passable. I would not be surprised if he loses the lane to Pretender still. This is actually a fairly even matchup between these two champions. And I have to say, this is the first time that Nesty has played this the entire split. So, it is a little bit dicey. And a lot of times when Nesty debuts a champion, it's kind of like a box of chocolates. You just don't know what you're going to get.
Absolutely. Nesty, we'll have to find out. He doesn't have to win the lane, though, because he can try to just move things around the map. He does love himself some mobility, and he's given himself a champion that can do quite a lot of it. So, as we get underway, no shenanigans, no cheese. We saw that Frank were kind of guarding for it. There is a deep ward down bottom, so this should give more information to Deep Cross. No, actually, excuse me, it's outside the pit. Potentially a little bit more information, but we'll find out as... Looks like Deep Cross are aware of the ward outside their own red side jungle.
Yep, we'll see how Trundle paths. If you look across the board, these lanes are actually fairly easy to gank for Trundle. Gangplank actually has a hard time, but he's going to get a great level 1 trade. He gets the passive off, Trial by Fire, plus the Q in. That's always the best trade you're looking for as a Gangplank, so he's already off to a very good start just based off of that. But I do think there's a chance for Holo to actually get a lot of good ganks down early. Xayah has so much trouble with the Trundle Pillar early, and so does Gangplank because the orange really doesn't do anything against the persistent slow field of the Pillar either.
It's not really CC, right? It's just kind of a really obnoxious bit of terrain. Kurt's struggles continue here on the level 1. He does land the boomerang, of course, at point blank, but Leaky is just chasing him away from the farm, and he gets that level 2 set up. Meanwhile, in the mid, as to be expected, you do see Nesty actually taking, quite a bad trade from Pretender, just free hitting him there as he leads the minion wave in, and, well, it is a bit coin flippy when we see Nesty on new champions, new for him at the very least. We'll have to see if Frank can do something with it, because last time around, that Victor wasn't really able to translate any pressure into anything on the map.
In lane, we have seen this is usually a pretty hard matchup for the side of LeBlanc, but it's also very difficult for Vex to remain deathless throughout most of the early game. The way she plays this matchup is she tends to shove very hard, and she has no escapes, and a very, very long passive cooldown early. So we'll see if they can find some ganks in that lane. That's where the matchup will shift. With K2.
Good hook for K2. Finding a trade onto Woody, but not nearly as much as they would have hoped. Holo's in as well. There's the pillar, but while Zaya has trouble, Rakan not so much. Pretender going to flash away in the mid as Hana is looking to chase him down. Gets rooted on the spot, and that has got to be first blood. It goes to the big bear.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was talking about. You know, Pretender, he's going to shove, and you really can't expect the Vex to remain completely deathless throughout the entire matchup. I also do want to point out, quite interestingly, he's gone with the Ignite here. He's not going to go for the Teleport, which is the much more standard option here. I wonder how this Ignite is going to come into effect. Maybe he thought he could get much more of an advantage in the 2v2 than is expected.
I think that's probably where it's going to come from. I mean, Pretender definitely would like to start to snowball if he can on this champion. We have seen him have quite a lot of success on it in the past. Of course, not getting a chance for the Ahri as it's banned away red side. It does mean that he goes on to like one of these other types of picks. But do feel more confident in him on this champion, but it does mean that he's taking a risk without the teleport, getting back a little slower into the lane. Nesty goes in, grabs himself a ward, and Pretender is going to get baited. Chains are on, 2 of them landing, and Hana straight out of the bushes right now for round 2. No flash, and personal space is not being respected in the mid lane, Clement.
Such a good play by DCG. They make sure both sides of the jungle is completely clear. No chance for counter gank. And Nesty just outplays the passive so well. He doesn't get tagged by the fear. Just walks straight in for the chains. And Pretender took that hook, line, and sinker. So we are going to get the phase where, come into the phase of the game where DCG is going to have Cannon Barrage and the roaming mid jungle. So all eyes should be on the bot lane in these next couple of minutes. You also have to think about Eminem's build here. He knows that he has to go for the late game angle. You can't really contest a serrated Dirk Zaya early on. So this is looking pretty dicey for Frank. If it smells bad, it's gonna feel a lot worse in the next couple of minutes.
Man, that's the weirdest form of synesthesia I've ever heard of, but it's definitely not looking great for Frank because they're already down 800 gold at the 5.5 minute mark. 2 deaths in the mid lane as Hana has been setting up shop there, and both he and Nesty have got themselves a kill already in this one. K2 would like to set up for an engage onto Woody if possible, but Hana now comes down towards the bottom as expected. Level advantage for Eminem. Holo's going to try and match jungle pressure. And I think they'll just back away now that they pushed away, but Holo's going to look to cut them off. I don't know if they take this engagement.
I think this should be a fairly confident fight for DCG. They have the Cannon Barrage, and they have the winning mid lane.
Well, the hook does catch. It's on to Hana right now, the 3v3. Hana going to try to face tank through the front. That's a great blade caller there as the GP ultimate comes down to push things away. Pretender getting rooted yet again, and Nesty is just landing chain after chain.
Well, I think those were all the questions we had for Nesty. Can he actually play the LeBlanc? And it looks like he can. So, well done for DCG for hiding this pick for so long. I mean, I'm frankly kind of flabbergasted. If he can play the LeBlanc, why not play it a little bit earlier? But, you know, he's
because he doesn't want to.
Okay, good answer.
I mean, that's the answer to like anything Nesty does, in my opinion. But I don't actually know. It's just based on the observation. Good trade there on the back half, at least. Pretender is able to file at Mr. Bolton, get Nesty to back away. So the threat of the Ignite was always there, and K2. Ooh, talk about threatening. There's going to be the pillar coming up. Cascada, though, getting some help from Woody. Here comes Hana. They actually set up perfectly before the bear even gets there. They do manage to get the kill onto Holo, so now this dragon should be relatively free, although Hana is a little low on the health bar. They should be able to finish that job without any trouble.
And this does come off the back of the prior fight that they just got. They burned 2 extra flashes from K2 and Holo with the help of the cannon barrage. So they're very confident in these skirmishes. I think they should be taking such aggressive postures for sure here. They get rewarded. Unfortunately for K2, he wasn't able to find the initial hook onto Friscata. You know, that would have been a good window before the Featherstorm could come in. They can't find it, and they also lose on the contest. So with all of this going on, I just feel like you're going to see that Bear going into the bot lane a little bit more. He does have that Stormbringer to disable the tower, and you also have Triskata now with the Serrated Dirk against the Cull. So it's a very strong power spike here. Leaky's also going to have his Cannon Barrage up. If I'm Frank Esports, to be completely honest, I'm thinking about how to equalize on the top side. I really like this play from them. You know, staying in the bot side, it just feels like a death trap. Why not just move everyone up and make it a 5v5 on Herald?
Yeah, see if they can. So getting the jump on it with 3, they're actually able to finish the job pretty quickly. And no contest, no chance there for Deep Cross, but they will get the option to push on the plates. This will give Friscata a bit of a lead on the side to try and, you know, just hashtag win more a little bit. And it looks like we've got a bit of a delayed swap coming in as Kurt makes his way down bot.
Yeah, so we will have the Gnar here, but I feel like this is a lot worse for the Gnar than it is for the GP. Again, GP can remote farm, while Kurt does have to stay alive against the Woody, who's just about to hit level 6, I would assume here. So we are going to see DCG come in. Oh,
that is the hook. Hana actually is forced to Stormbringer away, and Eminem is able to tag him onto the Moonlight Vigil. Great outplay as Deep Cross lose their first kill, lose their first death, I should say, to Eminem.
Well, I just think Hana had slow fingers right there. His angle of engage was basically saying, hey, I'm going to be able to press Stormbringer and become unstoppable before your hook lands. As we saw, that is not the case. Hana's just did not have the reactions to back up his pathing right there. So he's going to fall down right there, and we did see the Cannon Barrage used kind of preemptively. They really would have hoped to hold onto it, clear another wave, and that does mean Eminem is allowed to get back into the game and most likely scoot onto a Mythic just completely scot-free.
Yeah, that's a great move from them up topside, and taking advantage of Hana's error gives them not only a kill, but first brick as well off the Herald. A great turn by Frank, and this is what we wanted to see more from this team if they can manage to out-rotate Deep Cross.
Really nicely done here, and I feel like Frank, every single one of these games, we kind of look at the situation, we look at the early ganks, and it looks so bad for Frank. It looks so bleak, so gloomy, and then they just find a mistake here and there, and they are able to punish. So we have been seeing this for the second game in a row. Personally, I don't find DCG to be a team that plays particularly tight. I do see them as a team that does make a lot of engagement mistakes here and there. So this is also why I feel like we are in for a long series. I personally have this one going the full distance, the full 5 games. So
it's
get ready,
possible.
boys and girls.
we've had some short series. I think it might be time to turn it into a long one. Of course, last night may have been the harbinger of things to come. Frank Esports, I think they're not particularly clean in their fights as well, but they do build for the chaos, right? You talked about it in the pick and ban, that this is a comp that really thrives in those uncertain moments, in those tight fights that is just very odd, where you can't account for all the variables possibly. So maybe they've got something in there. Maybe we'll be seeing a turn back in this game, and going into game 3 without either team really having a clear edge. But 11 minutes and about 20 seconds on the clock right now. We are going to see Holo getting rooted up. The chains landing. Here comes Hana once again into the Stormbringer, and from downtown comes Woody for yet another knockup. Holo is just limping away from everything, and the team is just going to go ahead and reset.
Well, Wiki trying to take this one. Fight does get a lot of extra
could
damage.
Be in trouble here.
I was actually thinking Kurt was he was kind of banking on the fact that the vision advantage was on his side, but he has to hightail out of it right afterwards. So, you know, looking at things across the board, just to rewind a little bit, DCG actually gave away a 3,000 gold advantage overall in these trades. And we have talked about the scaling and the team fight advantage that Frank Esports do have. They have a much more solid front line when it comes to these objective fights. So DCG, they need solid wins on this GP. They need to stay ahead on this LeBlanc to split the map up and make sure it's more about rotations and skirmishes than about the more standard objective fight.
And they need to set that up and then execute it well. And I think the issue is they can do one of the two, but they haven't really been able to do both so far in this game. All the same, they do have Drake control, and they're going to use it after that first Hex Tech. They pick up the Ocean here. Shouldn't be contested. A lot of vision invested down bottom side in that jungle to make sure that they can get this done. So it gets smited down. We get to see what our rift is. Drum roll, please. And it's going to be a mountain. We got a lot more terrain to work with this game, Clement. I feel like that's really good for the Trundle.
Yeah, this one is super nice for Frank Esports, and I think a bit useless for DCG, because they really want to pick off targets at the get-go of these fights. Mountain Drake doesn't really benefit them, but, you know, they still want to deny it for sure here. It's just kind of useless on their part. So I feel like DCG at this point, they are struggling to find avenues of attack. GP is very far behind. They can't prevent the teleports from Kurt at this point, and we are getting towards the 14-minute mark where there could be back TPs, and this could get hairy for DCG here. They haven't spotted Holo just yet.
Yeah, it's going to be a bait-on-bait situation right now, and K2, oh, they actually saw that one coming from a mile away, and they're going to set this up on the play. Woody taking a little bit low, pillar does land, and wow. Disengage. They get...
Oh,
no!
It's
round two! Here comes K2 again. They get the root down on, and man, they're just sticking to him like glue, but it's a peel back from Deep Cross, and I can't believe nobody died down there.
I swear whoever gets Nautilus in these playoffs just looks like 2 times the better support right now, both from K2 and from Woody. These guys have been very up or down in regular split, but when it comes to playoffs, when it comes to Nautilus, they can't miss hooks. They always find it on the 80 carries. We saw a good example of that one there. Honestly, if DCG didn't get the cannon barrage from the top side, they would have lost Chris Cotta. I don't think he would have survived whatsoever.
I can't believe Woody kept living through that. I mean, just some fast fingers on the Rakan. The extra range, of course, helping out, pairing them together, but holy moly. So, very spicy, very much in these fights. I am loving the matchup we got today here between Deep Cross and Frank. There is definitely a chance. That's why we keep talking about it. Despite how well Deep Cross played game number 1, there is a lot of comeback potential on this Frank side. Rift Herald going to be started here by the 3 Deep Cross members, but the Frank Esports Cavalry is coming to here, although Nesty cuts K2 off at the pass, and with Woody, they should be able to take him down here. He limps away. Finally, the Ignite finishes the job, and right back on Herald, but Frank at the inside track, despite the numbers disadvantage, should be able to get the smite down as they pull Shelly back towards the pit. Still a dangerous situation. They get it done. Deep Cross almost bait themselves.
Deep Cross don't have a chance in the 5v5. They're missing too many ultimates. Both bottom lane ultimates are gone, and so is the cannon barrage. So I feel like DCG actually played it fairly well. They knew that the objective was just a bait for catches, and they do find another kill. Unfortunately, it is on Woody rather than the LeBlanc, so might not matter just as much. And on the flip side, Frank can feel pretty happy with this one as well. They should be dropping this one mid lane, opening the map up so that Vex can answer whenever there is a sort of side lane trap being set for them.
Yeah, Frank, you know, they've been a little bit behind in the gold game. They've lost out on a couple of Drakes, but things are starting to go their way. They have this Herald now that they stole away, or rather took away from the side of Deep Cross, and they have the tempo to really play with as they're trying to cover all 3 lanes here. We'll see if Deep Cross can make a play on them. A couple of feathers find K2, but he's able to sustain through it, no problem at all. Pretender hitting level 11 down on the bottom side as Nesty will come to match pressure. Deep Cross just continue to make excursions into this jungle. They want to set up a pick. They haven't been able to find it.
Yeah, LeBlanc has to be there.
With the snipe smite, that was nice.
You can't believe he got that himself. He didn't even use the smite, so it was... Oh, did he?
Oh, yeah, barely. Like, that was... Like, I think he was as surprised as anyone.
Pops out the question mark. A couple things to note right here is how big Leaky's actually getting. He's been taking the topside Krugs for 2 rotations right now, and he's not been missing any of the minion wave. So that's a matchup that could potentially snowball out of control. He's actually sitting on a lot more gold than you might suspect because he also has the parlay gold and the silver serpents going into the bank as well. That could be a way that DCG kind of suddenly flip open the trap card and said that, well, we were actually investing our money all this time into this GP. Here's how he's going to go. And I also like the build here. He is setting up for the Hull Breaker. I think this is the correct move,
close.
as you don't want the 5v5.
He's actually opted to try and complete that before he gets his boots too. But Frank are going to try and force the issue down mid. Nesty does go in, Nesty does go out. Shelly's going to charge, and not enough to get the tower. Woody's actually going to be chased away, but they don't close on him, and this is going to be the Mountain Dragon spawning. Frank, they certainly want this, but they're giving up quite a lot for it, as Leaky is just free hitting up top, is going to be able to clear away that tower, has the option to teleport or go for the global ultimate, and Frank are kind of just running around like headless chickens right now, not finding anything.
Yeah, they needed to be much more decisive on just holding down this Drake. I don't like the idea of just catching here because now they're going to lose a second tier 2 tower. If I'm DCG, that's completely okay for me. I'm just like, okay, you guys didn't start Drake when you could have, and now you're going to pay the price. So I find this a winning trade for Leaky and for DCG.
This is pre-Hull Breaker GP, by the way. Just wait what happens after this next back. So a big CS edge because they've kept the Gnar involved in some of these fights. And Leaky isn't going to back just yet. There is actually a lot of damage being dealt onto this mid-tier 1 as Criscata gets popped up by the pillar, but fortunately for him on the other side of it. And Kurt's not involved in this fight either. So if they wanted to go in, Pretender goes. That's the flash hook from K2. They do delete Woody, and that is shutdown gold as he had a bounty on him.
Yeah, felt like that one was, to be honest, not very consequential. You did burn an extra flash just to kill Woody as a support, and I don't think they're going to be able to take objectives here. Cannon Barrage is up, there is no Herald, so for DCG, yes, they lose a member, but it's really okay, like, it's whatever in that instance. They get 2 summoners for losing Woody, and a lot of calculations, that's fine, I think.
Yeah, so despite that, it does mean that Deep Cross are going to still have this tempo edge. The Hull Breaker does get completed by the Leaky back, and picks up a couple of swords to go along with it, and finally finishes up his Lucidity boots. So, looking pretty good in this one. Yeah, this gangplank is going to be a problem on the side lanes, I'm going to say.
I think you're absolutely right. They just let him get away with way too much farming. So, I feel like Frank Esports, they have to be much more decisive on the objectives. Sure, they're going to have to play through a Cannon Barrage, but they should feel confident that their composition, because of their front line and how they can rush forward and turn flanks with the Shadow Surge, they should be confident at just starting objectives. They should not do what they just did and sort of like bait out potential engages. They lost basically 3 towers for that one Drake there, so they don't want to try that once more. And we'll see if Frank Esports can switch up gears. I think, to be completely honest, one of their weaker points has been decisive engages. They're much more of a team that plays with range and plays with their double hyper carries just kiting away from compositions. So we'll see if they can switch gears.
Well, Eminem has had a little bit of a better start to this one, as he did get that 1 kill, sitting on the Bloodthirster now as well. Let's see if it's going to be enough. But the pressure and the fan out here from Deep Cross is really keeping him at arm's length. Hana is going to get chased away. And the rest of Deep Cross, they back in and out. However, Nesty goes in, looks for the deletion, finds a lot of damage onto Kurt. And that's him going for a defensive build. Keep in mind, he's still building towards a Banshee's Veil this game.
Very well done there. It also catches out the fact that Kurt is not building any MR, so is willing to just put the damage onto him here. And Frank Esports, looking across the board, I feel like they're just losing a little bit too much on the vision control side of things. They can take the 5v5s for sure, but they need to make sure the fights are going to start on their terms where they don't lose too much HP for it. They don't know who's behind Woody at this point, so you can see they're very timid in trying to get the full engages off. They're just kind of inching in, getting vision first before they can set up. Feel like a better position for them. Definitely going to be into that Drake. Oh, Shadow Surge.
Yes, Pretender goes deep, though. They do have the Shadow Surge. Will it be enough to get the fight for them as the Cannon Barrage lands down and they turn it Leaky, finding a huge number of Q procs off the back half of it. Moonlight Vigil turns around as Eminem just uses it for the zoning, and once again, Clement, nobody dies. Maybe I spoke too soon. Nope. Nesty is going to be able to walk away from Eminem.
Yeah, that was a fight where the terrain was actually very difficult for Frank Esports. Great cannon barrage uses there by Leaky, and they were also walking into Blade Caller. So Frank Esports, even though they start with Pretender, I don't feel like that's the best start for them. I feel like what's like the dream scenario for Frank Esports is you get the engage with K2, you have DCG pop most of their abilities, and then you use Shadow Surge to still traverse through and snipe off the kill into the backline. I feel like that's kind of the best chain scenario for them. But, you know, Frank Esports, at the end of the day, they do take back the majority of their jungle, and they now can set up on that Drake, where I feel like they are going to get a lot more open terrain. It's going to be harder for DCG to flank them. This should be their strong points in the game.
Yeah, this isn't the first time we've seen Pretender on this Vex be the primary engage, be the one to start the fights off when they haven't been able to find anything else. And I think he is trying to build towards the big burst pop-off. I mean, we're going to see that Void Staff coming through in a little bit, but it's not always advisable, especially when you don't have a stasis item and your team is not able to cross the map as well as you. Another Mountain Dragon is up in about 7 seconds. Frank are muscling in to try and claim this. There is a teleport preemptively from Nesty back to his own tier 1 tower for this, but that's going to prompt the turnaround here for for Frank Esports, as they've kind of lost control of this river a bit.
Yeah, again, I feel like Frank Esports need to be more confident. Once they have the Narbar in the correct position, they should just go in and start the objective. The more you sort of twiddle around here, the more chances you get poked out for. And I just don't think Frank is playing this one correctly. They need to be so much more decisive. You have the better 5v5 comp, you have the front line, just go.
This is it feels like a bit of an experience on stage gap for sure. Frank are going to opt to try and flip this Dragon for the mid turret, but they're not even going to get that as Nesty's here. No, they will be able to, but they might get sandwiched here as there's the cannon barrage, and here comes the quickness as they just chunk so many members out, looking on the chase to finish the job. Friscata can see it. Here comes the Stormbringer. Hana instantly flashes away from it. Not full committing on that. Nobody's gone down, and Nesty flashes away from the big Gnar. And K2, no more outs for him, but they do lose. Frank's support player, can they still follow through? Deep Cross, they looked a little lost themselves, but they finally take Pretender down. They lose Nesty in exchange, but might be able to get even more for it here. The flash forward, Eminem trying to save the day, and this is just a very, very wonky engage, but Eminem caught sniffing out on his own as Woody picks up the kill. And that is a very back-and-forth fight, but it results in a 1-4-3 for DCG, excuse me.
Beautiful play coming in from DCG. I love the idea of chasing Frank Esports into the choke. They had to take basically the full brunt of the cannon barrage walking away from Woody right there. And they started this fight on half HP because they just twiddled their thumbs around for way too long on the objectives in this one. Let's see if Holo can get an engage. He doesn't have the flash though.
Mega Gnar is up. Smite is going to go down. Holo can't quite get in there. So the Baron is taken. And with a little bit of honey fruit, too, Deep Cross can walk away. Let's see this replay again. It was a very extended fight, but into the choke they go. And the quickness of Cannon Barrage gets kind of stuffed for a second, but the second wind is that much better.
Yeah, beautiful stuff coming in from the side of DCG here. Also to note that Nesty put Kurt below half HP before he could go into Mega Gnar and get most of his resistances. He also outplays Kurt again on the Mega Gnar ultimate here, so I think Kurt was completely ineffective in this fight, to be honest. And now you have Frank Esports on the wrong side of the map, and then doing his best with the Bloodthirster to hold out, and Holo gets a good pillar on this one, but they just have nowhere to go. They're low HP. DCG can't afford to just wait and kite them back and make sure they get split up, so all of this stems from, I just think, again, Frank Esports just not being decisive enough with their composition when they had a bit of a lead.
Yeah, I agree. And Deep Cross walk away with everything. They have a 6,000 gold advantage themselves. They are on Soul Point for Mountain, even if it's not quite as impactful for them. And they just can keep adding to this tower lead. This should be an easy number 5. A couple of hits of feathers from Friscata going to knock it down, and they are knocking on the base. Nesty is actually shifted to the side lane where Leaky is with the rest of the team because that Gangplank just does so much damage on the barrel chains at this point that Frank really have to respect it.
Yeah, at this point, he should have his third item fully completed here. DCG going to be stripping away these towers and the red side once more. And it looks like for Frank Esports, they have once again found themselves in this sort of hole where it's we gotta play until 35 minutes. We gotta play for Pretender to snipe people off. And to be fair, he has done that before. We've seen in the J-Team series, in the J-Team matchup, where he was able to go in 1v4 and kill the AD carry regardless. So that Shadow Surge still packs a lot of threat, and I think it's the only thing Frank can really rely on to surprise DCG.
Yeah, we're going to need to see some big Pretender outplays. We have seen it before. It is always possible, but they are running low on options right now. All the gold is falling Deep Cross way, and Eminem and crew going to try to hold here in the mid. They do have, the opener up under Criscata, completely denied by the Featherstorm, and one of the reasons you love that champion. However, the root comes in for round 2. They are going to be retreating off the back of it. Moonlight Vigil does not find nearly enough value. And they've still got Nesty on the side lane just herding the minions in, as Frank are just finding really no purchase for the engage. As I say it, though, they do catch the Recon and delete Woody off the map. Pretender does get one, even through the cannon barrage. That should be the end of this particular push for Deep Cross.
I'm very surprised that Woody held on to most of his abilities right there. He definitely could have afforded to get away, but, props to K2, does find the dredge line in that corridor, and perhaps Woody was thinking that he wanted to save everything just for the potential of the Mountain Soul. That would certainly put Frank Esports, who are still lacking damage at this phase, even further behind for sure. And we have the Congregation for DCG right now. Frankly, Frank Esports don't have the composition that can push through terrain. I feel like if DCG control the ramps well, there's almost no chance that Frank win a fight, and they are left to probably some form of hopeful steal scenario here. You can see Leaky already doing a very good job at making sure those barrels cover the ramp.
Okay, they're going to try to move in here, but Holo is just paying so dearly for it, and he fails the flash. Oh, that should be the end of that one. I was going to say that maybe with some item spikes, they have a chance to contest here as Pretender picks up Void Staff, Eminem on the eye edge, but they're getting zoned so far out. Woody and Criscata going to wrap around. That is a lot of flashes to set things up here as K2 tried to find it, but they could get sandwiched on this one, trying to take the Drake away. I don't know if this is worth it. There is going to be the big Gnar, but Criscata dodges out another Featherstorm. It is absolute chaos here. They do get the shutdown, and the rest of Deep Cross were a little bit too far and away to try and make this happen. Here comes the Shadow Surge from Pretender. The zone away this time in favor of Frank Esports. Woody keeping the Dragon proc as Nesty looks for an assassination to try and even the odds. Here comes the quickness. Woody doesn't really find enough on it there. Moonlight Vigil is completely dodged. Its ultimate's whiffing left, right, and center. And Frank Esports, even though they won the fight, they're just getting chunked. Leaky does manage to take the Q, get one kill. Polo off to the smite is getting knocked up and bopped up, but he takes down Woody all the same. And that was very chaotic, but Frank walk away with the Dragon. Deep Cross have the soul denied.
Oh, what a tense fight right here. DCG, I think they outsmart themselves quite a bit. Frank Esports just said,
be the first time.
We see... Yeah, not the first time for sure. I see Recon, I see LeBlanc. They're not in front of Criscata, so we're just going to engage on Criscata and kill him right off the bat. I feel like this is how Frank Esports should have played a lot more of their objective team fights. They could have done this earlier, but we'll watch the start here. They get a great start. DCG, please just go for the Drake. Stop playing around with your food. Recon, just stay on the same side. LeBlanc, don't look for the 2,000-mile engage. Just stand there. You still have the... I think they're trying to kite out for the cannon barrage. He's overthinking it.
Yeah,
for sure. 100%. He's just overthinking it.
So Criscata dodges once, right? But the problem is you can't dodge two. And that was a nice layering of CC to set things up. Critically, Pretender starts to get kill gold here. Hana flashes away, and sure. But then they kind of stick around here in the 4v5, and credit to where it's due, they almost get more, but Woody really scuffs this one. Doesn't really find much, and the cannon barrage, he kind of peels them away from it for a second.
Yeah, that was not very well chained together. I think if they changed that better, there was a chance that Nesty could have come back and won it. I think it's still a very slim chance. Honestly, if I'm DCG at this point, I lose Criscata, I say, hey, we're still massive in the lead. Let's not make an 8,000 gold lead into a 5,000 gold lead. Let's just hold onto that gold lead and wait for the next fight. They actually went a little bit too far.
It's a 6,000 gold lead, so they did lose at least some of that.
Yeah, they did lose quite a bit of that. Kind of unnecessary right here, but I love what Holo has been doing, just putting a lot of threat on Criscata, and they know they could do the same chain with the Shadow Surge after the Featherstorm is finished right here. Now, Frank, I think they're finding their footing. They're getting a little bit more confident that they can take these 5v5s, and for DCG, they need to get back into the 4-1 situation again. They don't need to be contesting here 5v5.
Really nice turn on the fear, but DCG going to start off. Pretender goes deep and in the middle of the channel. He goes into stasis, setting up the perfect kill angle for Deep Cross. A bit of a whiff there for the Frank mid laner that is going to open up the Baron. They can still contest this as Holo's still alive, but without Flash, that Trundle's going to have a hard time getting into the pit for a steal.
I'm a little bit surprised Frank did not try to fight that one. Now they're in a worse position going into the 4v5, coming into the Baron pit here. You know, LeBlanc could be in any one of these bushes. They have to be super wary, and Holo has to walk first here. Let's see if they find
he can pop the pillar at the
Nesty.
very least. All right, that's the fight on. They do manage to delete K2 off the map. Hana taking quite a lot off of Holo here, as he's got the subjugate on. Kurt going in for the big Gnar, does manage to knock two. Woody gone into stasis. Nesty is out of this fight. There's an opportunity for them to come back in, but Leaky on the back half is making them work for it. M&M, though, cleaning up. It ends up being an indecisive fight, 2 for 2.
Yeah, great play there by M&M to clean up the double kill. And I felt like Frank Esports needed to go all in on the last fight as well. Like, if you don't save Pretender, you're actually in a much worse position. They let Pretender go, and they nearly lose Baron off of that play, but they do get the heroic outplay here. I feel like Kurt did a really good job. Even though he does fall down, he does stop most of the damage and build a lot of room for M&M to start pouring out those Severin shots.
Yeah, you're talking about how the Frank strategy was going to be, a while back when they were forced into their base, wait for that 35-minute mark. Well, we're only a minute away, Clement. There's big opportunity here, and they could build a Drake stack of their own. Very important for them to get the mountains as best they can. It would be a very late one if they end up getting the soul, but still, I do think with 35 seconds to go, Deep Cross are in a much better position to try and take that away, but we've seen these fights go every which way, and now M&M pretty fed here, Guardian Angel on as well. It's going to be a little harder for them to try and get the outplay.
We'll see if the Lion has finally wakened up. Like, Frank Esports, despite the gold deficit, I think they have the far superior 5v5. If they just walk in hard and engage, I think they win.
They might. Nesty, he was looking for a snipe. He does find K2 and half his health bar, but that's not the biggest priority target, right? As long as K2 can get in there with the dredge line, set up the knock-up, and get the fight going for the team, that's massive. They do manage to find a little bit Nesty on the side, looking for Kurt. Narbar is almost up, though. Woody, they're trying for the pincer. They get the knock-up on the quickness. Do they have the fight? Woody's taken down. Here's Nesty looking for the deletion, but Holo is able to tank through it, and that cannon barrage way too telegraphed. Deep Cross on the retreat path. K2 finds the hook. Leaky walking away from it here. They might have to seed this dragon. This would be soul point for both teams, but Deep Cross aren't going to give it up just yet.
Yeah, we do have Nessie with the teleport trying to come back into this one, and Leaky is in a very good position.
No, the smite down, it's taken. That is going to be the soul for Hana and Deep Cross, but will they lose the fight on the back of it? Leaky is going to have to take that blast cone. Does dodge out of the ultimate. That's a big Featherstorm for Criscata. Doesn't find the damage. Frank walk away empty-handed, but oh, it was close.
And they're going for Baron after this one. There's a 42-second cool death timer on to Nesty. They will get spotted out, and I'm not sure this is doable for them. M&M does have the right guns for it, though. The Crescendum plus the Onslaught is going to take this Baron down incredibly fast.
Here's Hana. He has Flash. He has ult. This is dangerous. It may be a 4v5, but Deep Cross have done crazier things. Leaky wrapping around the side. K2 Holo very low. And all of a sudden, panic button starting to be pressed here. Frank know that they're in danger of getting sandwiched right now. K2 trying to sit around the side. Woody dodges away. Battle dance there. This is going to come up to a smite fight. It's already down to about 3,000. No, the Gnar against the wall. Trying to buy the time. Here comes the big bear. And he's going to go in. And the Baron gets secured by M&M. And now Frank are trying to push for the fight. Leaky caught behind enemy lines. And I don't care how tanky, how big that gangplank is. He is going back to the base. Shutdown gold for M&M, and everything's coming up, Frank.
I don't know what is wrong with these teams, but they take the riskiest plays I have ever seen. First off with DCG, going in with the Woody play, I just don't think that was worth it whatsoever. It's super risky, low return. They could have zoned out even further, but they go for it. They lose the fight, and then Frank Esports returned with the 50-50 Baron play. Like, this one was, it was really on edge because you do have Nesty that can join the fight afterwards with the TP, and they also have the Mountain Soul plus the potential to just flash in for the potential smite. I feel like, to be completely honest, Frank Esports got so incredibly lucky that they were still able to get the Baron in this one. And a couple critical plays here is, of course, they do find the kill onto Cruscata before anything does happen. Cruscata not even able to throw a single auto attack, makes this fight 5v3 for a large portion of it, and Frank Esports are able to clean up. Was it the play I wanted to see? Probably not, but it did work.
I mean, yeah, it did work. You know, Clement, I looked at the cooldowns in that replay. Both junglers early smited. Hana got a lot closer, but I was wondering why the heck Eminem was the one who secured Baron. I'm like, and that's exactly why. Everybody got panicky there, and I mean, it's such a risk, but damn is it if it isn't exciting here. And Frank are looking to go big or go home. This is an elimination match here in the PCS Spring Split Playoffs. 38 minutes scaling on their side. A massive Eminem right now on the bottom side with Baron on to many of their members. All 5, in fact. This is going to be Deep Cross trying to defend after having control of this game for so long.
If I'm Frank Esports, this should be a fairly easy game plan. Make sure everyone is stuck together. Don't do what Kurt is doing right now and give them an opportunity. Get the cannon barrage first, get the ultimate down from Cruscata, and let's just run the same plan again. That's It should be a very strong point for them. Kurt, just don't die, and we're good.
Well, Kurt didn't die. He's going to back to base, though, and doesn't have access to the teleport, which means this push gets stopped for now. Tower does fall. So Frank are able to break into the base, and you have to think the next big fight is going to hinge on the Elder Dragon. Considering how many have gone, how many regular dragons have gone away this game, I'm kind of surprised we got to this point, but, well, we've reached the dip and the flip in the gold graph, Clement.
Yeah, this game has been very interesting. I'll be honest, I'm not confident in either side winning. Despite
somebody has to. The good news is somebody has to.
Yeah. For Frank Esports, I think they do have a decided lead right now. If you look at Eminem, he's so incredibly difficult to kill. He has the GA. He does have the lifeline coming in from the Maw, exactly, and also the just extra sustain from the Bloodthirster as well. So he should be able to stay alive and weather the storm through all of it. And if you look on the other side, outside of the Ignite, there is no anti-heal. There's, there is one from Cruscata, but he has been the primary target throughout most of these fights. So he has to keep alive to make sure that they cut down that heal. And for once, I want to see Frank Esports actually take a decisive fight. Walk in like you own the place. You have the better front line. Just shoot DCG away. Stay close. And make sure you can engage if DCG try to flank you. If they try to flank you, just run straight forward onto Xayah. That's all you need to do. Let's go, Frank.
Yeah, there have been so many like weird dances around engages from both teams in this game, and yeah, we're 40 minutes in. It's a very, very long one right now as it has flipped back and around, and 50 seconds until the Elder spawns. DCG, they do want to keep a presence in this area, but they don't have too many deep wards now. Everything's going to be up. Every ultimate, every cooldown going to be available for this fight, and I feel like this could decide the game. Death timers are looking pretty high.
Okay, so for Frank, again, they have the big lead. All they need to do, shove mid-wave and take the path that doesn't go through the Raptor ramp. You want to go through mid. That offers you a lot more opportunities to just not get completely blasted by the barrel chains here. No, you can pillar this brush. You're going to have vision, and you're going to know where everyone is. You have the Mega Gnar. Just start walking towards it.
Yeah, Nesty can't delete anybody at this point. Elder's on the map, though, and I think DCG are trying to call the bluff here and force Frank into the fight. This is starting to get shredded pretty quickly. Between Hana and Cruscata, Nesty and Woody now going to be joining in. Frank looking to close on. There was a bit of a slowdown, but a chance is going to be in for the Smite Seal. Here comes the quickness. Woody has already popped it on. Into the pit they go. It gets taken away. Leaky gets the secure on this one. But can they survive the fight afterwards? It looks like the answer is yes. They use their tools to escape. Once again, Operation Smash and Grab for Deep Cross Gaming.
I'm losing my mind here. I'm actually just losing my mind. Frank
Nothing
Esports
makes sense,
just walk
Clement.
in.
Up
They
is
play
down.
that so slow.
Up is down, black is white.
Frank
leads don't
Esports
matter.
are the epitome of explaining the concept of being too risk averse is actually a risk in and of itself. They didn't start walking towards the Elder Drake until DCG already had it at half HP. Like, how does that make sense? They had Mechanoir for so long.
It's like getting on the motorway and like doing like half the speed limit. Like you think you're being safe, but you're really just causing more problems.
There's no way DCG should have gotten away with such a clean Elder Dragon. They didn't even lose anyone.
They're gonna get Baron
They
too.
get to zone.
This is free. This is free real estate right now, Clement. What is happening? Even I'm confused. They just got Elder mostly for free, and then they just got Baron completely for free. It's like Frank like fell asleep at the keyboards for a few seconds.
I just think Frank are not used to playing aggressive. That's all it is. Like, they actually have the lead at this point. Eminem is actually unkillable. Like, Nesty is not fed. You don't have members that can get sniped out by Nesty. And I don't know, man. I don't know. I feel like Frank Esports, it's just the culmination of them playing a very slow style for the entire split and not really grasping opportunities when they have them. That being said, though, they are facing a 5v5 right in front of their own base, and the Elder Dragon is down. So maybe
true.
Frank Esports, it's about to be down, excuse me. So, you know, maybe Frank Esports can still turn this around.
Well, they're running out of time right now, and out of inhibitors as well. That's going to be 2 taken on the split. And, you know, Clement, Frank Esports don't have experience playing this late in the game because none of their games have gone really this far. The only one that came close was against Impunity a couple of weeks ago, and I think this is about to end here. 44 minutes on the clock, and
please,
you gotta take the fight or you're just gonna lose the whole thing.
Please.
Deep cross, looking for the deep cuts right now. They do get the knockup, but that's gonna be the last of the Nexus turrets. Kurt already down to half HP, tries to get the big Gnar, gets baited right on in. They get a big knockup, Woody on the engage, tag in the big bear, and they're just gonna keep this going. Eminem might have enough DPS to still carry this game. He's got one, he's got 2, just hit the Nexus. Oh no, they're losing it all. Leaky, he's gonna try for it. Hana's around the side. Can he end the game? No, he cannot! What is happening?
As an analyst, this game has been so painful, but it's so good at the same time. DCG, 40-second respawn timers. There are still 2 teleports left, so Frank Esports, they have to clear their base. In the meantime, they cannot afford to do the full push-in. Frank Esports...
This is going to be a backdoor. This has got to be a backdoor play.
I mean, you know, Frank could have done this so much earlier on. This is a fight where they were going into a full minion wave and the Elder Dragon, and they still won the 5v5. They still could win the 5v5. Why don't you just do this earlier?
They won the 3v5. Look at Kurt. Kurt's dead. He's already dead, right? He's done. Now it's a 4v5. Now it almost turns into a 3v5, and
Eminem's unkillable.
Eminem just goes
actually
all in.
cannot die late game. He's just the superior carry. Look at him. He's taking the bot lane 1v2, and he's alive. He comes back and finishes off Leaky.
And Hana almost ends it. He almost ends it. That's 1 hit. Oh, maybe 2. Good lord. All right, so resets. We're at 46 minutes in the game. Gold means absolutely jack at this point. Items are pretty much full build on almost everybody. Let's look at the damage dealt that last fight. Oh my goodness, Eminem got out damaged by Criscato. How the heck did that happen?
Yeah, that's it. Well, let's be honest. Kurt did die for free there to start the fight off. So they got a lot of like kind of meaningless DPS. And now DCG has so many ways to play it. If I'm DCG, I would be willing to wait for the next Baron. I think Eminem has proven that he's incredibly powerful at this point, and as Criscata, I don't have my summoners. I think it's going to be hard to survive this one. I think the best objective, the best way to play this game, is just layer these timers down. You're going to have that Baron. and you can do a backdoor. You have double TP too. So it's going to be super hard for Frankie Sports to cover their entire base. You can just walk in and pop the Nexus.
Yeah, they're going to just try to pull them apart right now as they look to fire down on this last tower. This is the last tower that Frank have in this game, by the way, and it's gone.
They also have the Elder to play around too, which is coming up a lot sooner at this point. I feel like if DCG do not go for a full engage against Frankie Sports, they cannot lose.
Okay, you got to back away now if you're Cascada. That's the Featherstorm burned. And the Nexus is at about a little over half its hit points. They're going to keep the pressure on, though, but they don't have cooldowns. If they get baited into a fight, this could be trouble.
TCG just turn for Frank... Elder, please.
Yeah, just hold. Just holding. Is this the longest game we've had all split? It's got to be close.
Yeah, we're going on 50 minutes.
Yeah. In this meta? All right, well, this is going to be Elder. Elder number 2.
This game has been far more entertaining than it had any right to be. I'm just going to say that.
Yeah, no.
So fun,
wait a minute. Wait a minute. We could be trouble right now. That's going to be the double root down. Eminem. Oh, he's down. He's dead. No cooldowns. They got a little too hyphy now. Somehow, they only lose Cascada. I think they still get Elder on this one.
But Frank
Pretender has to stay in
coming
base.
in onto this one. They only have Pretender defending the base, though, so this is going to be a 4v4.
Okay, Woody. He's got to be a little careful right now. He just go for the full quickness. Can't quite find K2. Gets pulled in. Elder is secured. And Woody dashes, battle dances back to his teammates. They've got to back away right now, but they do manage to take the Elder off the map. However, Baron is in 20 seconds. You have to think Frank are going to try to fight for that one.
Yeah, and Cascada is not going to be up here, so it will be a 5v4, but the question is, how will Frank actually try to hold their base together? They don't have any more TPs, and Nesty is clearly looking for an opening here. So I think what's going to happen is, most likely Frank still have to give up on the Baron. They just can't contend with the fact that DCG could end the game, especially with Nesty, who's so slippery.
Eminem has 500 CS, Clement. Oh, what is this game? Alright, well, this is Baron. Yeah, there's literally nothing for Frank to take on the map right now, and 2 inhibitors do respawn. So Frank can get a little bit of a reprieve here if they are able to constantly threaten deep cross. And I feel like we've reached this interesting point of the game where it is just, it is a bit of a stalemate.
The win conditions are so damn clear for both sides. DCG, you just sneak a backdoor. If you get GP in there, the game is over. Look at his item build. He is packing close to 400 AD at this point. He's probably over 400 AD. On the other side, at Frank Esports, what they need to do is decisive teamfight. They not only need to win the teamfight, they need to get it in a manner where they can then come back and still defend the base. So those are the win conditions here. For DCG, that basically means if they don't fully commit, they cannot lose. So they just need to keep their distance, let the Cannon Minions do their job.
Yeah, Winions, that's the play. So, getting the inhibitor in the middle, now trying to make it happen in the top. Pretender being zoned off a little bit. I do have confirmation from production. This is our longest game of the split at 50 minutes. The second longest. The previous record holder was PSG versus Beyond Gaming. Somehow that doesn't surprise me. But this time, Frank and DCG have managed to do the outplay here. They do jump on a Pretender. A couple of stopwatches popped here, and that's going to be a big back away. Kurt gets the shove, but there's no follow-up for his team. Goes into the resurrection, goes in the backline. Here comes Pretender, but he's going to get shut down by Cascada. Now Holo going to drop as well, and Eminem may be unkillable, but unfortunately for him, the rest of his team is not. And Deep Cross Gaming will ride this one to the finish line. 2-0 up, match point in the series.
I'll be honest, I'm not sure what I just witnessed right there. I feel like
50 minutes of League of Legends, baby.
Yeah, that was very interesting. I feel like for DCG, they actually took a pretty big risk with that one. But unfortunately for Frank, they weren't able to utilize that opportunity. They overcommitted on Kurt. They definitely overcommitted on Pretender. And if you looked at the final fight, Eminem was just standing there and looking at his solo laners going like, what are you guys doing? Like, you guys know that you just need to protect me, and I'm the win condition here, right? Instead, they each go in, they lose the majority of their HP bars, and they actually hand a difficult situation for DCG and turn it into kind of a cakewalk. So, I'll be honest, I feel like this game after after Frank found a decisive win around the Drake and the Baron, this game should have been just book closed, game shut, and over. That should have been done. Frank Esports had the decided lead.
I mean, this was such a bonkers game where everything got thrown out the window, and I feel like you get into those situations as both these teams, you start seeing bigger risks, higher stakes. It's somebody is going to lose it all sooner or later, and unfortunately for Eminem, his team got itchy trigger fingers there at the end, Clement, as they were trying to hold on, and we had our longest game of the split in Game 2 of the playoffs. I did not expect that, but even if we get a 3-0, I think this has been longer than some of the 4-game series we've had.
Yeah, for reference, we actually finished around 7:45 p.m. In the DCG versus PSG series, and I think we're probably close to being over that already. Yeah. So
a lot more league this time around round 2.
You get a good bang for your buck.
It's still, hey, you're getting more. It's like those when you go to the supermarket and you see the packages that are like 30% more, and it just looks a little bit bigger. That's what we got out of Game 2. Family size.
Coming into this draft, again, I felt like DCG had a really good early game. They did mess up on the Herald, especially Hana getting killed when you're trying to trade towers. That was a 3,000 gold rebound for the side of DCG, and DCG were able to take that into further Drakes, where their composition should have the lead. But I feel like they were just so hesitant at pulling the trigger sometimes. They didn't understand how to walk in onto the river, and they allowed Nesty to poke them away. They allowed Leaky to get far more damage off than he should have been able to. Like, Leaky was getting triple rotations of barrels when he really should have just been allowed one. You know, you see the barrel pop and you just walk in. You don't back off, you walk back in. You walk back in. You have the front line to take that damage. So they gave the Elder Drake away, and I felt like that was kind of the downfall for Frank Esports. After the Elder Drake, it was the Baron into the triple inhibitor, whereas if you saw that Hail Mary 3v5 play, they should have just been able to walk Frank Esports down. Eminem was actually unkillable throughout the majority of the late game, and they didn't utilize it.
Yeah, it's to borrow a phrase of yours, it really was a head scratcher because they just did not seem to understand when they were able to muscle in. They didn't have the confidence. I wonder if it is a bit of stage nerves too, because these are some younger and somewhat less experienced players compared to the side of Deep Cross. They didn't have as much time playing together. I don't think it was necessarily a coordination issue, although it did happen at the end there. But it did seem like they were playing more scared than I expected this team to be, and I wonder if the stage nerves are getting to them.
Yeah, I feel like they need to jump out of the mentality of infinite scaling. They definitely
it runs out eventually.
True. They need to have like more of a switch approach to it. It's like, oh, we have the win now. I'm just gonna flip the switch and we go in. Leaky is not gonna be a good front line. He's building Hullbreaker. He gets 0 benefits in 5v5 team fights, and their only win condition is actually to poke us out with the Gameplank and the LeBlanc. So if we go in, we take the first rotation, fine, but we fully commit to the team fight, we should still be able to win most of these. I hope they learned their lesson, and all I want from Frank Esports, I could do with less entertainment. I just want more decisiveness.
Well, we certainly have at least had that entertainment to kick things off here. And yeah, 2-0 up for Deep Cross. We could still be on for the sweep. We'll have to find out. What a gold graph game. It went down, it went up. It was an absolute roller coaster. And at the end, Eminem still outdamaged the Zaya, but only just by about 4,600 or so. And oh boy, that was a game of League of Legends, everybody. If you're tuning in, we don't normally get them like that, but something special happened when these two come together.
Longest game of the split so far, 50 minutes in.
Oh boy.
If I'm looking at the draft, I will say, though, despite the conclusions for this game, I actually think Frank are on the right track. I don't think DCG have actually showcased that they're clean enough to snowball them completely with tempo compositions. I actually think that it's mainly the onus is on Frank Esports. If you just play a little bit cleaner, DCG has shown that they will give you the opportunities to come back, that you can get into these 35-minute games despite some pretty iffy early games. So I actually think Frank are going to stick to their guns with this Aphelios, go for the front-to-back compositions. It's just about execution and cleaning up these mistakes.
Yeah. Well, sticking to your guns, I see what you did there. It does make a lot of sense. I think this Vex did all right, but the primary engage wasn't quite there for Frank. They definitely have to dial it in a bit more if they want to stay alive in the series, because this is on the line for continuing the playoff lives here, and our MVP will be Leaky. One of the lower score lines, but I think that doesn't really belie what he was able to get done as a gangplank. You want to talk about infinite scaling? That's definitely a champion that can take advantage of it because he was full bank plank at the end.
Gangplank was critical in this game, especially if you think about the bot lane. There were actually a lot of trades where they would not have been able to disengage or keep alive without the cannon barrage coming in from Leaky. I felt like he did a good job in his own lane. He built correctly with the hull breaker because he recognized that they had to split the composition up from Frank Esports to continue scaling up. He did that correctly, and I just feel like he actually had a lot of those cannon barrages where it was more preemptive hurting of the enemy team, like forcing them into chokes and predicting that they would have to walk through the cannon barrage. So I think he did a great job in these aspects. And if this draft continues to be blue side Frank Esports, which I expect it to be, I want to see what extra sauce Leaky has for us because he has such a wide champion.
Yeah, and Leaky's looks so much better. I feel like the PSG match, it's like maybe it's just Hanabi is just his kryptonite. I'm not really sure. He's looked better in lane. He's also looked better in the decision-making. Leaky's definitely a player that I think is a little dependent on how well he's able to get out of that laning phase, but he looks so darn good if he at least goes even, and that's encouraging for Deep Cross here in their individual skill matchups. So
Hopefully Leaky shows us something special. He's got
I'd love to see more, but if they don't ban him out, if they don't challenge, it's all been focused on Nesty. But we'll see if the sweep can be completed. It hasn't been clean, but it has been fun. We'll be back right after this.
CTBC Bank is Taiwan's top financial institution, but we're not stopping there. We're crafting an international brand and already have over 260 outlets in 14 countries. We are by your side, ready to embrace the future.
Our family. Yeah. I'll avenge you. It's not long till I evolve to what I'm meant to be. Hometown prophecy, London reinvented me. Elitists do it properly. MJ would have rocked with me. It feels like a crown is the only thing on top of me. Honest things in CD, get high like PG. Guys it like Ouija, stay smart like 3Ps. Get fly like ET, live east like E3. I am the only trilogy, there be no repeat. I kill the beat, I slay the beat, I kill the beat, I'm an avenger. I kill the beat, I slay the beat, I kill the beat, I'm an avenger. I kill the beat, I slay the beat, I kill the beat, I'm an avenger. I kill the beat, I slay the beat, I kill the beat. I represent evolution like Charmander. Come through on the mic with a hard banger. Biblical with the bars, I'm the last rapture. I'm Picasso with the pen, this is art grammar. Lightning with the flow, call me for the rapper. I've been through some stuff, you will marvel at my chapter. Loud with the app, but I call it a big bagger. And I'll elevate my family, the only thing that matters. I killed the beat, I slayed the beat, I killed the beat. I'm an avenger.
I killed the beat, I slayed the beat, I killed the beat, I'm an avenger. I killed the beat, I slayed the beat, I killed the beat, I'm an avenger. I killed the beat, I slayed the beat, I killed the beat. I killed the beat, I slayed the beat, I killed the beat, I'm an avenger. I killed the beat, I slayed the beat, I killed the beat, I'm an avenger. I killed the beat, I slayed the beat, I killed the beat, I'm an avenger. I killed the beat, I slayed the beat, I killed the beat. I'm an avenger. I'm an avenger. I'm an avenger. I'm an avenger.
I will look defeat in the eye. I will stand with my head held high. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but you ain't putting out the fire inside. Blood, sweat, and tears will make me stronger. Whatever comes around the corner, there's a fire inside of me, and I'll keep fighting for my own victory. And when I'm out of breath and there's nothing left, oh, the fighter inside is gonna keep on fighting. Is gonna keep on fighting. Yeah. When the ground all around is burning, from the ashes I'm a phoenix rising. When I'm surrounded in the shadows of doubt, I will never surrender. I will never surrender. There's a fire inside of me, and I'll keep fighting for my own victory. And when I'm out of breath and there's nothing left, oh, the fighter inside is gonna keep on fighting. I'm not giving up. I'm not giving up. Blood, sweat, and tears will make me stronger. Whatever comes around the corner, there's a fire inside of me, and I'll keep fighting for my own victory. And when I'm out of breath and there's nothing left, oh, the fighter inside is gonna keep on fighting. Sweat and tears will make us keep on fighting. Whatever comes around, gonna keep on fighting. Sweat and tears will make us keep on fighting. Whatever comes around the corner, there's a fighter inside of me, and I'll keep fighting for my own victory. And when I'm out of breath.
And welcome back once again to the PCS Spring Split Playoffs. We are in game number 3, although if you're checking your watch, you wouldn't know it because that was a 50-minute game in number 2, sitting on the precipice there for a long time before Deep Cross tipped it over the edge to go on a match point here. Before we get into our pregame banter for game number 3, which could be the final one, let's go ahead and once again thank our wonderful sponsors, CTBC Bank and Caliber. Thank you for making all of this madness possible. and so that everyone can see Clement's adorable kitty.
Thanks for giving Rumi a shout out right there.
Absolutely,
But as we head on into this series, we do have Frank Esports once again on blue side, and I really don't expect much changes coming out from either of these teams. I think it's still going to very much be front-to-back team fight from Frank Esports because they have been getting away with it despite good early games from the side of DCG. And for Deep Cross Gaming, I still think they go tempo. They have shown that Messi actually has the picks to do so. The Ari is still a threat, and this time around, the LeBlanc, I felt like he actually did a very good job at poking out targets, especially targeting those without the MR.
I think, I think that threat was always really good from the side of Deep Cross, and it did make Frank second guess a lot of things. I do have a question for you, Clement. Do you think that the Aphelios is actually worth the ban? Because obviously they might end up giving up the Jinx on their side if they do it, but I mean, Eminem almost kind of clawed that game back single-handedly.
To be completely honest, I don't think so. I think you're pretty happy giving over Aphelios and having the superior support matchup, or just getting the Xayah and just pushing in. The problem with DCG is not that they actually even won lane. The problem was that they just had a couple of mishaps, especially from Hana, giving over kills and tower trades that allowed them to get that scaling game on. So I don't think Aphelios has been all that influential, if I'm being completely honest, and I'm not even sure that Frank Esports play that well around defending the Aphelios from what we've seen. Eminem has been very aggressive, needing to flash forward.
He has been, and yeah, his team not really forming a circle around him has been kind of the trouble in some of these very late game fights. All the same, he still played a couple of hero plays. I guess it wasn't quite enough. Yeah, I'm curious to see if Frank mixed it up in the draft any further, because it did seem like a lot of it did come down to execution, and really failure to start on the execution because they were so afraid in some cases where they had the lead. But we are into picks and bans. We'll get some answers to our questions in this one as we see very similar bans coming through. Once more, the Ari banned on red side by Deep Cross, as Frank have yet again elected for blue.
Yep, and we should expect very similar draft strategies around here. Frank Esports, in the previous game, they were willing to first pick the Aphelios.
Ooh.
This time around, though, they banned the Xayah for themselves. This is interesting because it kind of flies against the logic here. It seems like DCG want to go for a different AD carry in the face of Aphelios, even though Xayah has been sort of the best counter.
Yeah, I feel like they want the handshake, the Jinx for Criscata that he has a lot of those pop-off games on, and just let him have it, because if it does go to late game, they can at least match the amount of damage being dished. But they do give up the Lee Sin for Holophort. Actually, are they going to opt to take the Aphelios themselves? I mean, Criscata's played pretty much the same amount of games on both these champions, so yeah.
I'm not sure how I feel about this one. I actually think, for me, Aphelios is the one that has a little bit more lane catch potential because of the Gravitum, but Jinx does pop off a bit harder in the mid game if you're in an even situation. So this is a trade-off that I am a little bit suspect of, and you do have Frank Esports this time trying to solidify Pretender and Holo. This is the matchup that I think has the highest chance to actually flip sides, because Pretender, in my estimation, is actually a very strong mid laner. I actually feel like he's a bit better than Nesty. So if they give him this strong early mid-game setup, they could change the entire matchup, and frankly, there are still enough hyper carries for Eminem to still go on something like the Jinx here.
Yeah, I mean, they have a really strong setup on the Frank side with the Lee Sin for Holo, and now Pretender on this LeBlanc, Eminem on a late game hyper carry. It definitely has all the ingredients for what they want here. We'll have to see how Deep Cross match on the pressure. As Nesty has had his champion pool cut down, does he just fall back on the rise, or does he have some tricks up his sleeve? Don't know if this is a troll hover or not. You never know with this man.
I'm pretty sure it's a troll. It's not really playable right now, and it is
trying to keep the mystique. No, it's Rise Up. Okay, so there we go. One of his most played champions into the LeBlanc. Going to try to go for that tank setup, but they do have the Viego for Hana, so there is a lot of reset pop-off potential there.
And this time around, we are going to see DCG actually flipping the switch and going for the late game strategy. It's always interesting to see Frank try to play early game. They have been able to do this, and Holo actually has some very exciting games on the Lee Sin. It's not their main strategy for sure. They rarely go for this comp, but, you know, to be frank, it has worked up before, so we'll see what they can do with it. On the other side, DCG full team fight comp. It's also a little bit iffy. I think they're better at 1-3-1, if I'm being honest. I don't think their objective fight is necessarily the strongest of their suits, so I do still want to see something that can split push on the side of Leaky, and I'm very surprised they're banning both of these away, huh?
Yeah, Nar's still up, though. I wonder if Frank leave that. They could just opt to blind pick it for Kurt, as it is his most comfortable champion. And that would mean that Leaky would have to try to find something else. So, yeah, they do spend a ban. And wait a minute. Wait a minute, Clement. Okay. All right. I'm getting a little too excited here. After that last game, the hovers got me going.
Yeah, Woody has played the Yumi, has played the Renata, so he's no stranger to enchanters, but I think Janna, we just haven't seen that champion this entire time, is going to go for Tahm Kench, which I think is a very good champion in this situation because he does deny those resets and the burst damage from going through. And I just wonder why they banned the Tryndamere and the GP. To be honest, I don't think Kurt has shown particularly much mastery for these champions, but they're still going to take it out, and Frank Esports are going to go for the tank option, taking a page out of Leaky's book.
All right, Sejuani, we have seen this not as successfully, but did like what it was setting up for, and also K2 might be taking a page out of someone else's. Wait a minute, no, that's a Gragas at the last. I think that's a support Sejuani.
Yeah, support Sejuani. We have seen this a couple of times. It does pair very well with the
Aatrox for Leaky, let's go.
That's good. That's good. Split pusher. I like this one coming in. It is a winning matchup versus the Gragas. And we'll see how the Sejuani does go, but you do need those melee attacks to make her passive work. So I do expect her to be much more useful in team fights, but the laning phase could be a bit rough.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to see. I mean, it's definitely a statement of intent from Frank Esports that they are going to try and set up and not only survive that laning phase, but try to maybe get the resets early, get the damage on. I mean, they do have that Lee Sin. He could be coming down to the bottom lane a little bit earlier than probably Hana can do, but only if he keeps up in the farm. Last time we saw this jungle matchup, it was Hana who was getting so much more out of his Viego as he was able to counter jungle, did utilize a lot of the pressure dished out by Nesty on the opposite side. So we'll have to see. I mean, I think this is going to be a little bit of a different matchup with the Rise in the mid, but Deep Cross are 2-0 up. They are clearly not afraid to experiment a bit.
Yeah, so going through the compositions, we do have a 4-1 comp on the side of DCG. This is what I like to see from them, leveraging the strength of Leaky over Kurt. And on the other side for Frank Esports, it's still a very stock standard front-to-back teamfight comp. You have great tanks because of the ice armor coming through on the Sejuani and a hyper carry in the Jinx. But this time around, they also have the better mid-jungle duo. So what I expect to see throughout this game is that what Frank needs to do to kind of hang on and drag this later is for a lot of those roams from Pretender to potentially catch Leaky out and shut him down.
Well, we'll have to find out if he can do it. Because if not, Deep Cross could be cruising to a 3-0, despite how close things have looked, especially last game. But we are underway. Let's go ahead and take a look at our runes and masteries. Conceal Spellbook on the rise. No surprises there. The Conqueror Aatrox. The Aftershock Sejuani.
Yep, Sejuani, we have seen her a couple of times. There has been some very wonky bot lanes, like the Aurelia Sejuani that was played in the LPL for a split, where you just use the melee attacks. But I think it's much more of a teamfight champion than anything else. Kriskata, on the other hand, also starting with the fleet footwork. Usually you do get poked out by the Jinx early levels, so that's normally what you expect to see. And the jungle starts, I do like this coming in from the Lee Sin. I feel like focusing on the bot lane is definitely where you want to go. Lee Sin with the Flurry passive can get a lot of auto attacks down, so the gank potential there is quite high, especially you can just go against the Tahm Kench.
Look at this level 1 here. Nesty has found Pretender on an early roam, actually forces the Mimic out. Or excuse me, the clone out, and yeah, that's a little bit scuffed there for Pretender.
Yeah, and this is a matchup where we could see things flip a little bit, you know. If the LeBlanc goes in for the distorts and the electrocute, she could just be frozen in place by the rune prison, and you can see the ganks incoming, so it's not guaranteed to be a LeBlanc favored matchup for the most part. And bot lane should be seeing Eminem just pushing this one out, but Woody does have a little bit more threat in this level 1.
As that Abyssal Dive. Of course, he just turns around, gets a bit of Rocket Poke, and K2 always going to be looking for those angles here on this Sejuani, trying to stack up those Frost stacks and seeing if they can't get somebody stunned on. Good chase down for this team as well, if they can manage that, not just in the 2v2, but also team fights, as you mentioned.
Yeah, I do like their setup quite a bit. They have a strong two-man game in the top side with Leaky and Hana, and that's a very high sustain plus reset composition that they have. So I do expect this game to devolve into a lot of side lane skirmishes, while the rest of the members, the bot laners, are going to stay relatively static in the mid lane. You have a lot of moving parts, the Realm Warp that could come in as well. So if it does go into the more skirmishy style of game, I think DCG does have a decided lead, but it also does come down to how Pretender and Holo can snowball. Again, they have the strongest mid-jungle duo that you could possibly pick, but it is one that does require a bit of snowballing. It does have an expiration date, so we'll see how Frank can play this sort of off composition for them.
Good trade from Kriskata as he finds Eminem threading the needle there on his guns. Here comes Holo, double buffs on. In through Tribrush, but he's going to be matched on pressure by Hana. We could actually be in for 3v3, but Hana's much more interested in securing Scuttle. So that is going to be the back away, and Holo's actually spotted on a ward near the Raptor camp.
I do want to point out, not only is Holo spotted, Pretender's also not doing very well in his own lane. If you look at the sustain here, he is down 2 pots. Nesty dealing with the lane very well off the level 1 trade. He's going to be able to hold this, and that just means there's not much threat from LeBlanc Lee Sin. You really want to get this ship going. We've seen a lot of early level 3, level 4 Lee Sin ganks coming in. Now they're finally pressing in, but they're spotted immediately.
Yeah, Holo doesn't want to get sandwiched. Does land the Sonic Wave, but Nesty very safe in tower range. You don't want to take that one, as you'll be getting a one-way ticket to Rune Prison.
And this game is starting out very slow, which I think for DCG is actually somewhat acceptable. You know, you live past the pre-level 6 power of Holo and Pretender, and then you get a lot more say with Viego online. I think post-6 Viego does have a lot more fighting power when you match it up against Lee Sin, but DCG, find the level 4 trade!
Alright, Arctic Assault for the retreat path, but look at the damage Kriskata's putting out here. Eminem can't really return fire, and that should force them out of lane. No first blood just yet, all the same. Checking in up to the top, here comes Han on the hard path, and forcing Curse to flash away, but he can't dodge that dash, and here come the Infernal Chains. He's trying to walk away from it, but first blood will be had by Leaky.
Unfortunate game plan right there. Just going in on the wrong timing and just getting baited in by Leaky. So the 4-1 off to a good start in this one. The Gragas really doesn't have a good time in this matchup. Very hard for him to even damage a Leaky in this trade. Here goes the dive.
Yeah, once again, no. Woody does get taken pretty low here as he flashes. Grey Health is on. Here comes Kriskata to follow. They're going to try to get the outplay on Eminem. He might just be able to do it. They're trying to limp away.
Woody goes back in.
Threatening the lick and the auto. The double kill for Kriskata. And that is absolutely worth even as Woody dies.
Such a beautiful trade. Woody knows that he's going down, but he's taking the 80 carry with him, and that means they're going to miss an entire wave here. Very surprised that Eminem did not try to flash out for that one. He goes down, and Kirk could be going down again.
Here's round 2. No flash, no dash. He gets interrupted as Leaky flashes in front of him, and Hana picks one up too. The buddy system up top is starting to roll, Clement.
Such nice play from Leaky to stop the body slam from getting away. And in the mid lane, you see Nesty just winning a straight up 1v1 trade as well. So all 3 lanes popping for DCG. We're going to take a look at this trade again. I did suspect that this Sejuani was going to have a very weak laning phase. This is indeed what we saw. And the calculations here from DCG, chef's kiss, absolutely perfect. Kriskata tanks the minimal amount of turret shots. Woody goes in, tanks the shot that he needs, gets the slowdown, and they're at it again.
Eminem, this time he flashes the wall. Here comes the zap. Now K2 moving around. They should be able to back away from it. Holo is in here, but they turn the damage on. Woody holding on to that gray health as Kriskata's trying to stand in here. Oh, the body block, and Woody keeps his carry alive. Man, get yourself a support like Woody. Kriskata is loving this right now, but they're not done just yet. Pretender tried for revenge. Here's the blast going pop. Realm Warp in. Pretender wishing he hadn't. Popped away, however, the turnaround this time. They grab Hana on the return fire, and K2's looking for Nesty. Deep Cross Gaming delved a little too greedily, a little too deep, and they have awoken Frank Esports.
So Frank Esports finally on the board, getting that kill down at the very least, and this is getting really heated in the bottom side. Overall, I think with all the summoner downs, you still have to give the advantage to DCG. K2, though, with that ultimate up with the Glacial Prison, could be looking for a repeat gank coming in from Holo. He still has that flash, so the insect is still there. I think all eyes are still going to be on this bottom lane.
Yeah, we want to see that 6 proc. Now, Kriskata starting to roll ahead in the farm game as Eminem out of mana and really out of anything he can do right now. It's going to result in some plates. Here comes Nesty roaming up to the top side, and the action has just opened up ever since the first 4 minutes were quiet. After that, everything else, Rune Prison comes in. Kurt just completely isolated and into the World Ender. It's going to be the end of Kurt's world, at least for now, as he tries to dash away. Some fancy footwork for the Fat Man, but I don't think it's going to matter as Leaky gets him in the end. Hana and Holo juking it out, dueling it out in this jungle, but Hana knows when he has to run away. Eminem already down and sniped by Kriskata. Oh my goodness, everything is coming up. Deep Cross once again. The Swallow into the delivery, and yeah, Woody secures the kill. That's okay, he can have one as a treat.
Straight up 2v2 kill happening in the bot side, now 3-0-0. Unfortunately, Frank Esports, they just couldn't hold steady in the top lane. Like, all they need from Kurt is not do anything and focus down the bot side with a level 6 Sejuani. They don't get to that timing window open, and now Nesty's looking for more against Pretender. He will get away, but this game is looking so bad for DCG. 4,000 gold, so bad for Frank, excuse me. Already a 4,000 gold lead on the side of DCG. They have all the kills on the carries exactly where they need it, and I just feel like Holo needs to pick at least one of these side lanes to shut down, as we're going to watch this again. Moonlight Vigil. I love the green color of the Moonlight Vigil on this skin. It's very hard to detect a lot of the times. Green's abilities are usually favored here, and Woody does the scumbag support Tom Kench thing, takes away the objective.
He earned it, man. He saved Tristan's life so many times now. I gotta let him have that one. But yeah, like this is so great for Deep Cross. A big lead in this game after such a long one where it was such a hard, frustrating close that they had to claw back because they were losing the scaling battle. A big gold edge here, sub 10 minutes, and the only thing Frank have really been able to get a handful of return kills and a dragon. I mean, that's not much.
Yeah, and most importantly, they don't have Lee Sin and LeBlanc that can move across the map. That's why you draft these two champions. They should be able to get away with it. I think what's scary for me is that K2 still has not hit level 6. So if this 3v3 does happen, it's still a very one-sided fight for Deep Cross Gaming, and they look like they're going to be setting up this play for a potential Herald into first break.
All right, Kriskata on the front line, dashes forward. They're going to try to lead Sejuani. Still level 5, forced to flash away. The lick comes out, and they're going to chase him down. Here comes the Lee Sin. Doesn't even matter, and it's a heartbreaker for Frank Esports. Eminem going down. The double kill coming through, and they just wreck shop.
K2 was all laughters and smiles when he locked in this Sejuani, but I gotta feel that he might be regretting this pick so far.
He's still level 5.
I know, he's died 3 times, and they still don't have, like, the kill combo down.
Yeah, Bristle's looking like a little piggy gone to market, I think. 2 kills to the 10 of Deep Cross Gaming, a massive gold lead. Nesty even winning the lane out against Pretender, who should have been the favored one in most of the actual laning matchups, but Nesty certainly holding his own. 2 kills for Leaky. I mean, there's just no edge on the map right now, and Leaky can just zone Kurt off. There's a level disadvantage. Hana just gets so much more value on the map, and we just have not seen this Lee Sin of Holos able to match.
True, I just don't think he got enough out of Pretender's lane. And Pretender losing that level 1 was actually highly detrimental because he couldn't control the wave state anymore. We never seen Pretender roam around with Lee Sin, no ganks coming into the mid lane. And now in the top side, there's a 50 CS lead coming in from Leaky. There's, I have to say, at least a 1,500 gold lead on Kristoff.
Yeah.
At the very least, 1,500.
No, it's massive. And they're going to be able to get second brick, because they already got the one down bottom. And in exchange, it's a plate. It's a plate up top, down bot. Nesty's still able to push this one back. Level 2, our 2-level advantage over Eminem as well. And, in the mid lane, he's going to be able to get him in rune prison if he comes too close. So Eminem knows he has to back away, and has done a good job of neutralizing that carry this game. A little bit of a riskier pick resulted not a whole lot here for Frank. Now, Kurt, he's going to be caught. Here comes the Abyssal Dive. Woody cutting him off at the pass, and they're going to funnel this one right into Hana. The flash, the dash, the heartbreak. Doesn't matter. Kriskata secures it up with a kill. 5-0 now on this Velios.
Oh, I like the attempt from Kurt to get away, but definitely could have played that a little bit better. I think you hold on to the flash in that situation and try to circumvent the champions and then get the body slam. But, at this point, I have to imagine he's feeling pretty tilted. The top lane is in complete shamble. We do have a game pause here coming in.
Yeah, it's not going to help Frank too much as this one goes through. It looked like it was a quick disconnect. Hopefully we'll get back into that pretty soon. But where the game state is right now, I mean, we have to keep in mind that this is a 2-0 for a 2-0 game, a 2-0 series right now for Deep Cross. And despite the fact that Frank had every means to close that last game, you have to wonder if that 50-minute bout is still weighing on their minds. Clearly, Deep Cross are the ones off to the races here, and they're eyeballing a date with Destiny up against J-Team next week, and it wouldn't be a clean sweep, like I said, but it would be a 3-0, and we've had quite a few of those already.
Yeah, high chance for this to be a 3-0 after all that's happened. And right now, DCG are just sitting in such a strong position because they have this full mythic edge. Eminem's also coming in here 1v3. I'm not sure how he expects to survive this one.
Another Abyssal Dive. Woody's just going to go for the outplay. Solo tries to get the kill. No, a little help from Holo keeps Eminem alive. A little bit greedy there for the Kench, but he'll be back after 15 seconds.
Yeah, that might be the start of the comeback coming in for Frank Esports, maybe.
It's something.
They are going to be... I think they should be able to complete their mythics at the very least and not give DCG both the Herald and the Drake fight when they're not getting any mythic. So let's see if... oh no, Eminem still does not have the mythic. Never mind.
Oh no, K2's in so much trouble. 3-level disadvantage that support for the top laner. Holo is going to come in. I don't know if it's going to matter. Maybe Leaky can get the 2v2. Oh, the bull is dodged. The rocket doesn't go. The world ender, and it is the end of Frank's world again. 1v2. Make that 3.
He wants more.
Cannot be stopped.
He's going in back. He actually uses the Q backwards to get even more
Teleport.
on the map. He's dodging so many
They
abilities.
will kill him eventually, but when and how much investment is it going to take? Finally, it's shut down. Pretender does get some gold bounty, but oh boy.
That was a 1v5. A straight up 1v5
actual
at
1v5.
14 minutes.
I thought that was just something salty solo queue players said, Clement.
It's actually a real one happening in professional play. Leaky even gets to hold on to his flash in that one. He doesn't overchase for the kill. He knows that he can save it later on and just expend resources. And look at how much he actually gets
last
out of
team
there.
fight. Okay, come on, guys. Now we're getting trolled. Does that count as a team fight?
That definitely doesn't.
Okay.
That definitely doesn't.
This will... ooh, okay, Nesty. Cheeky teleport up to the top, try and push the wave here. I think that was ill-advised, personally.
I think you're right. I think you're...
Yeah. But so is this. Pretender runs straight into Hana and face tanks so much damage. Now Deep Cross right back on the board. So despite a couple of what you can call throws, Deep Cross are really no worse for the wear right now, and things are just starting to get a little bit weird. In this jungle, the dive, the knock, the bop, the Kurt is trying for the disengage, and he's not going to be able to do it as Hana opens up with a Heartbreaker. In goes the dash.
Oh, the 3-man!
What a massive body slam! And now it is going to be Hana, Kriskata all the way on the board as they wipe off most of Frank Esports out of the Rift. Only Pretender, as he had died, almost died already after that one, backs to base.
Oh, Kurt's not even the best Gragas on the map. Hana just outduels him right there with the 3-man body bop into the World Ender. What a beautiful combo from DCG. That was Frank Esports' potentially best chance to come back into this one. They did have a numbers advantage after picking off Nesty. That was kind of delivered himself, but let's watch how that combo went down. Frank, I think, went for a very risky play right here, and Kurt, despite being the tank, doesn't have the stats to survive. The better Gragas shows up in Hana, and he just ends this fight with the reset chain. Beautiful stuff coming out. DCG looking like they're going to close this one out in fashion. I think I probably have said that before in this series, but this time it's real.
It's a pretty big lead at this point. Deep Cross, you know, they have every advantage that they need right now, and even though they've given Frank a couple of kills, it's starting to feel a little bit more like charity in this one. And we are about Clement, I know it's not a laning phase anymore, but we are about 12 minions away from a flame horizon. I think that tells you all you need to know about this game.
Yeah.
14 minions away.
Frank Esports, definitely nothing working out for them. I like how they're playing, though. They're basically sending their entire team for pickoffs, and hopefully if DCG overinvest, they can then just use the resets and pick off even more kills.
He's gonna just
Another
try to buy some time.
1v5, let's go.
I don't think he's going to last very much longer, but that's still, even with the kill here, there's so much pressure being put out by Deep Cross on 2 lanes. They should be able to get an inhibitor off the back of this. They've already got 1 turret, should be able to secure the second for an outer and the trade of the top laner. That ain't worth.
Yeah, it's going to be 3 towers, and Herald still has a charge left. It might be an inhibitor just going down as well. It will be. So Leaky has a hero's death right here. DCG do the exact right thing. They don't overcommit to helping anyone. Here comes the Super Mega Death Rocket. Still not enough.
Yeah, Hana's a little low. They do have to back away, but they do get 2 inhibitors in exchange for Leaky's life. He's going to come back up, has the teleport. They might look to end it right here, right now.
Pretender is going to go in, and they find Hana.
Shut down.
That should be it.
Okay, they're going to back away now. Eminem not a part of that fight at all, as he was solo pushing on the side lane. That reminded me of the old Reckless special. That's going to be it for now. 18 minutes, low death timers, of course, but nearly a 10,000 gold advantage for Deep Cross after everything. This is huge.
I will say, though, there are actually some signs of life, because Eminem able to split push 2 towers. He's getting his second item already, and look at Pretender. Out of nowhere, he's 3-0-1. He has that potential to actually just kill Kriskata in the backline outright. So, Frank Esports, their post-season lights on the line. They do have those win conditions.
That's very true. There are opportunities where the gold is. It is on the important carries. The question is, can everybody else hold the line right now? Pretender and Eminem are going to be looking to hold things up. Here comes Deep Cross. Moving, setting up a death brush here. Woody on the front. Going to get spotted by Pretender. Frank going to have to back away. They're no strangers to losing out on jungle pressure this game. This series, I should say. And here comes Hana. Okay, Spectral Maw dodged. Last cone taken. It's just going to be the inner tower. It looks as Kurt will have a hard time defending this.
I feel like for DCG, they can just turn around and take this Baron at 20 minutes. They are that far ahead, where the 5v5 definitely will be in their advantage, even with FaZe taking the Baron at this point. So I don't even think it's a risky Baron, to be honest. So
not relatively,
DCG, yeah, that's a very, very high percentage chance Baron to go for.
Oh, he sniped him! Oh, Eminem, you cheeky boy. That was nicely done. I think he thought maybe that was Dragon, but all the same, he'll take the red buff.
Holo gonna come in for the engage, but gets spotted out immediately. Here comes the TP, though.
Nesty forced a flash. That's the follow-through. The kick. Maybe they find a catch here on to Nesty. He's tanky, but he can't last forever. And they will finally be able to take him down. Pretender getting his 4th kill of the game. That's nice.
A bit of a split play coming in from DCG. They do trade the Drake for the kill right there, but they can still turn around for Baron. I feel like if you look at the cooldowns, that's actually a lot of resources down from Frank Esports, so I would not be surprised if DCG just start.
Yeah, I mean, Frank are going to have a hard time actually coming in to contest this, because they need to keep the minions cleared at home. So without Eminem, it's hard to have that sustained damage. As you mentioned, the cooldowns are low here. Yeah, they can try to sniff in for like a desperate smite steal, but Leaky's just going to cut him off at the choke point, and this should go away. Rocket comes in. That would have been nice this time. It doesn't quite go down. The smite is right, and here comes the fight. The teleport through. Pretender going to get zoned off the rest of the team. Woody on the front line, K2. And here comes Nesty for round 2, as Leaky is going to be the one to open up hostilities by getting the kill credit. Leaky flashing forward. World Ender on, and those health bars are evaporating. And I think this is going to be it, Clement, at 21 minutes and 15 seconds, and Hana finishes off the ace. They march down the base. And that's how it ends, not with a whimper, but an absolute bang as Deep Cross Gaming closed the gates on the playoffs for Frank Esports. A valiant effort by the team, but they couldn't quite do it. Deep Cross move on in a 3-0.
50-minute game 2, only a 21-minute game in game 3. And Deep Cross Gaming show why they have actually been the second-seeded team throughout the majority of the split. Their overall player talent is so incredibly high, and I think this series was Nesty even having good laning phases on champions we don't normally see him on. The LeBlanc was a bit of a surprise right here, and now is an important part for DCG because they typically have some memes prepared for you. Oh, it's Woody's birthday, so they're gonna celebrate this one with the crowd here.
Oh, that's really cool. You gotta love it. So, and how about that? Getting a win as well to give you the birthday gift. And I think Woody definitely had a really great game for himself today. I did criticize some of those Nautilus hooks. I liked what we saw ahead of him on the Tahm Kench in particular this game, because that's when you saw that more killer instinct start to be incredibly valuable. They set up great dives. They set up great plays. And I think there was a little bit of worry that Eminem and K2 would be able to outplay him, but the pressure everywhere else on the map really allowed them to take some of those 2v2s, and it was beautiful to see. I think Criscata is right back into it. So Deep Cross going up against J-Team for the next round, I think they'll have some confidence here, Clement.
Yeah, especially after J-Team trash-talked them so hard with Uniboy, saying
true.
that, this series wasn't important at all, you didn't even need to watch it, I'm just going to be the better mid laner, is what Uniboy said here. So I think it's setting up to be a very interesting series. Once again, Frank will be eliminated from their postseason. I think for a team that was clobbered together at the very last second, and they only got to play together in the same gaming house until I think the later 2 weeks of the split, they did very well for themselves. You could tell that, Kurt maybe was, as a new player to the professional scene, wasn't being able to catch up much, but the growth on Pretender, I think especially, was very noticeable. He really showcased why he was on the bench behind Maple through that year, and I think that Frank do still have a lot of room to grow.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think not only does the team have a lot of room to grow together, I think the individual skill, it has been a little inconsistent. I think Pretender has made a number of mistakes, but we've seen a lot of raw skill from this player. There's a lot of potential there. And in a league that has been known for it. I mean, he was the man filling the bench when Maple was on that PSG roster. Of course, he's still with PSG, even though Bay has been the primary player. We'll see what next split brings for this Frank Esports roster. I think, Holo didn't look quite as good as he did in the Boom days last year. I think that's been a cause for concern. I think Kurt has definitely struggled against the top half of the league in particular. However, there are some really, really good things to see about this team. I mean, Eminem and K2 are a pretty deadly bottom lane, and Eminem maybe got a little bit too hyphy in some of those fights and some of those engages, but he nearly saved the game in game number 2, and I think he's definitely earned a lot of respect, even though he already had that. I think teams are going to have to be very careful going forward, and I think this team in the summer split certainly looks like a challenger, and that's honestly, that's the story of them. I mean, they came out of nowhere. The expectations, we didn't know where to rate them, and they certainly performed admirably in the top half of the league. Just barely eking it in there, but I'll give it to them.
I'll say DCG was even the bigger surprise, because these were players that we thought were retired, and they just kind of dredged them back up. It's like, hey, surprise, Nesty's back, and it's like, okay, actually did pretty well.
There always has to be one like weird champ pool player to do some ridiculous stuff. I feel like last year was like Moonblack, but this was a much more successful one. Nesty has had some pretty solid games. We're starting to see his laning get back on form. We're starting to see him play standard champions, but he still always has the more weird stuff in the back pocket. And I also, Leaky's not only is Leaky back, but I want to give Hana some credit because we wanted to see early pressure out of him against PSG. It didn't happen. This time around, 2 times out of 2 on the Viego, he was just all over the map, getting the resets, and I think you have to respect that pick now. Hana, when he gets on form, can deliver wins for his team.
Yeah, DCG throughout this series has showcased a side that we don't normally see, which is they can play pretty dominant mid-jungle as well, if they are given the correct picks. I didn't expect that out of Nesty, but it's definitely true. He not only can roam, but he can also just straight up win the lane at times. So, before DCG was pretty much dead set as a team that roam mid-jungle, get Kriskata ahead, and play through teamfight advantages. Kriskata, once again, is going to get the MVP this game with 904 flawless kill-death ratio, and a lot of it just came from just stomping lane 2v2. I felt like the Sejuani was a bit of a weakness there. They weren't able to have it survive lane until level 6, and Kriskata plus Woody made them pay for it.
Certainly. Had a little help from Hana a few times, but that was a beautiful, beautiful 2v2. I love the dives on the Abyssal Voyage. They really made it work for him, and well, Kriskata, he still definitely got my vote for the Rookie of the Split. I think this guy is absolutely popping off, and even if we don't see it 100% of the time in the playoffs now, that is going to be a threat the teams are going to have to deal with. J-Team certainly better watch their backs going into next week, and yeah, it's good to see this team firing on all cylinders. At 3-0, like I said, not always the cleanest, but I think this Game 3 really showcased what this team can do when they have the game plan in mind.
Exactly.
And,
really strong laning phase, great creative play. I hope to see more out of DCG versus J-Team.
Absolutely. Well, we are going on a break. When we return, we'll be coming back with an interview with Rirachu and Deep Cross Gaming. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this.
I will look defeat in the eye. I will stand with my head held high. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but you ain't putting out the fire inside. Blood, sweat, and tears will make me stronger. Whatever comes around the corner, there's a fire inside of me, and I'll keep fighting for my own victory. And when I'm out of breath and there's nothing left, oh, the fighter inside is gonna keep on fighting. It's gonna keep on fighting. Yeah. When the ground all around is burning, from the ashes I'm a phoenix rising. When I'm surrounded in the shadows of doubt, I will never surrender. I will never surrender. There's a fire inside of me, and I'll keep fighting for my own victory. And when I'm out of breath and there's nothing just came here and I haven't thought this through. Heart on my sleeve, ready to bleed. Wish I had another dream, then I'd have left it. Instead we're gonna go to the brink. Don't you think that we should forget? Give me all your love, give me all your love. Give me all your love, all your love. Give me that pain, but it's light from above. Give me all your love, all your love. Since I left you, you haven't left my mind. You keep me awake, so for my own sake, I had to come and see your face. Can't erase you anyway. So here we go again. Touch your skin, pull me in. You and me, head swimming. Give me all your love, give me all your love. Give me all your love, all your love. Give me that touch, give me strength from above. Give me all your love, all your love.
Hello，欢迎来到赛后采访环节，我是主持人 Rich。今天很高兴欢迎 DCG 的中文选手雀巢来到了赛后采访席。Hey guys, and welcome to the post-match interview. I'm of course Rich. Here with me today is none other than Deep Chris Gaming's mid laner Nesty. Nesty, can you introduce yourself, please? 雀巢可以先跟大家打个招呼吗？
大家好，我是 DCG 的中路雀巢。
So, of course, congratulations on today's victory. Even though it was a 3-0, of course, that game number 2 especially gave you guys a bit of trouble. I want to ask, was that within what the team was predicting coming into today? And what are your thoughts? 首先，当然要恭喜你们取得今天这场的胜利。虽然说是个3-0，但尤其第二把是玩的比较辛苦。想问，就是赛前有没有预期到会是这样的结果吗？现在的心情如何
3-0应该是预期之内吧，因为对手也不是说特别厉害，就是蛮正常的。
So he said that they actually expected to 3-0 coming into today. He thinks that because the team that they were facing off against, he doesn't think that they're very good. So he says that a 3-0 is pretty reasonable given the difference in terms of the team strength. So I want to ask you about that game number 2 when FAK were nearly able to get the comeback victory. We saw it during the middle of the game as well over at the Dragon as well as Baron. Your team made a couple of mistakes here and there. I wanted to ask, was it because the team was playing a bit too fast? Were you guys getting a bit antsy and that's why you guys made mistakes, or was there another reason for that? 那接下来想聊的就是关于第二把差点被 FAK 翻盘的那一局，就是中期地龙、八龙的那几波，也是很明显的出现了失误。想问，是不是那时队友会很慌，就导致到大家都玩的比较着急吗？还是其他原因？能不能解释一下为什么你们会出现这种连失误呢？
觉得大家都想早点下班嘛，然后就玩的比较急一点。那我们后面失误了，但我们也是就是有在说，就是慢点打，还是会赢的，就是想下班而已。
So he said that the reason was because actually a lot of the members on the team, they just wanted to knock off work fast. They wanted to knock off work early, and that's why they seemed to be playing so quick and so anxious. But when they realized, hey, we're playing a bit messy, we're making some mistakes, he said he told the rest of the team, we need to like calm things down a bit if we just play as per usual, and normally we'll just be able to close this out with no problems. There's no reason to play this fast. So the next question I have to ask is also about that game number 2. to the first time that your team tried to go for the Nexus and weren't quite able to finish the Nexus off. What were the comms like on the team at that point in time? Was it you or was it your teammates who weren't all focused on hitting the Nexus? What happened? 那接下来想问，就是第二次没能拿下主堡的那一波，当时你们队友中的沟通是怎样？是不是你还是队友就没有再点主堡吗？
主要是那时候没有意识到对面就剩一个主堡了，然后后面意识到的时候就有点太晚了，这样。
所以那时候的沟通会是怎样呢？
那时候沟通其实大家都在说杀人嘛，但其实点塔就好了。
So he said actually at that point in time, everyone on the team didn't really notice that it was a bare nexus because their focus was just on trying to get the kills. And then by the time they noticed, hey, they have an open nexus, it was way too late already. He said that the comms on the team at that point in time at first was just like kill people, get them. And that's how it went. The next question, I want to ask you about your game number 1 pickup and your build. In game number 1, you picked up the Ari, and you also went for the interesting Majai's Soul Stealer buy on Ari, and it worked out. So I want to ask, is it something that you think works for you? Is it something that's strong in the meta right now? And just what are your thoughts on Ari with Majai's? 接下来想问就是关于第一把的时候你是选了阿里，然后之后在中期的时候也是买了蝶书，想问就是这是雀巢个人认为就对于你的打法来说，蝶书会是玩阿里的时候很强的一件装吗？还是可能是这版本比较强？还是就你个人有什么意见？
就主要就是觉得对面菜就可以出啊，没什么特别的。
So he said that it's just an item where he thinks that if the enemy mid laner is bad, is not very good, then it's an item that you can freely buy and it will be good. Right. All right, great. Some trash talk. I like that. My next question that I want to ask is about your champion pool recently, because in this series, for example, we saw you whip out a lot of mages in these 3 games, and you actually play them pretty well. It's not something that we've seen from you during the regular season. So I want to ask, do you think maybe this meta is your meta? 那接下来问题就是想问，就是在今天这个系列赛中就看得出来，就是你拿了许多的法师角色，然后今天也打得蛮稳定的，是因为最近练脚成功了吗？然后你个人会觉得，就是目前你认为这是你的版本吗？
练脚还是有点差吧，就是韩服就尽量是选一些自己平常没什么在玩的角色去练习，然后版本的话就是我就从一开始就说了，这个赢的就是版本嘛，所以没特别去担心。
So he said that usually in terms of practice recently, he doesn't think that he's actually practiced these champs to perfection just yet. He said that usually the way he practices is that in Korean solo queue, he just tries to choose champs that he doesn't get a lot of practice on and then slowly get better. So my next question I want to ask, because tomorrow is your support Woody's birthday. Does the team have any plans on how to celebrate? Are you guys maybe going to celebrate tonight's victory later on? 然后想问，就是明天是豹哥的生日，你们今天有什么打算去庆祝吗？
明天虽然是豹哥生嘛，但下礼拜要打 JT， 他那个生日就当没有吧，我们就正常的练习，那个生日就算了。
然后可能下周会不会庆祝，还是真的当没了？那好惨哦。
有缘一定在庆祝啊。
So he said that yes, it is true that tomorrow is Woody's birthday, but it's also true that next week they are going to play versus J Team. So for him, he's kind of looking forward. They're looking a bit more into the future for their match versus JT. They still need to prepare. So in terms of the birthday, the team is just going to act as if there's no Woody's birthday. And he said maybe if fate allows it in the future, then they will celebrate. But for now, they've got no plans. So my last question that I want to ask, as you just mentioned, you're going to be playing JT next week. Do you guys have any confidence going into that? What are your thoughts? 那最后想问的当然就是对于下周要挑战 JT，有什么感受吗？会有自信吗？
有什么感觉？没特别的感受吧，就都是老朋友了嘛，就正常打，尽力去打就好了。
有自信会拿下下周的比赛吗？
那肯定要有自信啊，没有自信怎么赢游戏是？
确实。So he said that, of course, they have confidence going into next week. He thinks that if you don't have confidence going into a game, then there's no way you're going to be able to win that match. He said that also because they're old friends with the J Team squad as well, so they're pretty looking forward to facing off against them. But he doesn't have any special feelings about going up against the team. All right, thank you so much, Nesty, for the interview. Of course, good luck next week for the very last week of playoffs. 好的，那非常感谢雀巢接受今天的赛后采访，当然也要祝 DCG 在下周季后赛的最后一周加油。接下来就是直播台喽。
Thank you very much, Ririchu. And wow, very, very harsh at the Deep Cross house that they don't get to have birthdays unless they win. But at least he had the pre-birthday, I suppose.
I guess that's why Woody was playing extra good today, because he knew
Yeah,
that if
trying
he
to earn
wanted
it.
that birthday cake, yeah, he had it to play well. I was surprised by Nesty's tone overall. He was very humble. I thought with such flamboyant champion picks, he would be a little bit more colorful. But he
With
just
the one
said,
exception about the Medjais, I think you kind of get it handed to him. He's like, yeah, but if the other guy's bad, that's okay. So called out pretender. But you're right. Other than that, he was. In word, he's a lot less flashier than deed, it seems.
he was much more subdued than I expected out of Unit Boy. I wanted a little bit more trash talk for him to set up that matchup with the JT. But I do want to, close this out with a general view of our last week of playoffs. And I think a lot of us did not expect this, but all three J teams are going into the last week.
The J Team Cinematic Universe has been one of the big through lines for our spring split. And for those of you who may be tuning in and don't know what the heck we're talking about, that is because Deep Cross Gaming, CFO, and J Team, well, J Team obviously, are all members, all have players that have been members of J Team at one time or another. PSG, of course, standing alone, they are currently not only the defending champions, the #1 seed, but that matchup that we're going to see against CTBC Flying Oyster on Thursday, April 14th is going to be an absolute banger. Keep in mind, CFO, one of the few teams to hand PSG a loss, but also, man, we've got to call back to our first game of the split with DCG and J Team. That was when things started to get surprising. We thought J Team would come in even stronger, and Deep Cross really surprised them. But the winner of that one will be going to the losers bracket finals. That is on Saturday, April the 16th. And then finally on Sunday, we will have our grand finals to see who will be crowned champion of the spring split and punch their ticket to the mid-season invitational.
Only have 4 more series to find out who will be representing the PCS overall, and there is a chance still for the lower bracket to climb up. We haven't seen it in the past few splits. It usually has been just the winner bracket and a repeat of the upper bracket finals, but if you have J-Team winning 9 games in a row, it is certainly still possible for them to climb out of the lower bracket there. And I just see so many interesting matchups coming through this one again. The J-Team universe for DCG, they have 4x J-Team members. For CFO, they have 3x J-Team members. So I think it's kind of interesting that we saw the dropping down of Beyond Gaming being kind of the 2 dominant teams into just J-Team starting to spread their wings and take over all of the environmental niches that Beyond Gaming left open.
they're gonna have to combine their powers to take on PSG, you'd have to think. But my goodness, what a top 4 we have. It is going to be an absolute blast to close out these playoffs, but we're gonna have to wait until next week. Until then, thank you all so much for watching. Be good to one another, and we'll see you next time.